Hey, everybody, welcome. Look who's here. It's Natalie from Scientology Life After a Cult and Reese from Relatable Reese. Hello, milady.
Hey, babe. How long has it been?
Oh, it feels like a year, but I think it's been like 2-3 weeks with
I
holidays.
think it's only been like 2 weeks, but it
I know.
seems longer. It's weird, though, to me that Christmas is next week. I don't know about you, but it does not feel like it at all.
No,
Not at
no.
all.
It's been an interesting, I'm so glad I put my tree up way early when I felt like it, because after that, I never felt anything really that much being into the holidays as much. So I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah,
I'm getting through it.
it just doesn't feel like it to me.
Do you think it's from like moving in a new place?
Yeah.
New traditions?
I can't even find my Christmas decorations. Like, I don't know where anything is still. And just also, it's the second out of Scientology Christmas. So it's just kind of weird. Last year I was married to somebody else, and now it's like we don't have a tradition, and it's weird. It's just weird.
Yeah,
Doesn't
you're
feel
gonna
like
make
it.
new traditions for yourself. But I hear you. Isn't that the interesting thing, that when we go through changes, even when they're changes where we're like, you had made a decision, like this was not a marriage for you to be in and you were going to move on and this is a good decision, but it still throws a little bit of a wrench into it in terms of finding like, okay, what I did know, kind of like with leaving Scientology. It's like, okay, well, we knew how Scientology worked and a level of predictability. And now it's like, okay. I mean, I've had a way more time to find my footing. I've been out almost 15 years. You're just out a couple years. And
Right.
like you said, this is your second holidays out of Scientology. Let's talk about that.
Totally. It's weird. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, I would say Scientologists don't put a lot of importance on death. They don't put a lot of importance on Christmas, on like holidays. There's
Yeah.
just I don't know. People are like, "Did you celebrate Christmas?" I mean, not really. You work on Christmas, you go on
Yeah.
course on Christmas. So not so much. I mean, I've always loved Christmas. I love lights and music and all of that, cooking, but I mean, I don't have any traditions.
You have to make new ones. Maybe by the time we finish this live stream, we will have brought the Christmas spirit back to Relatable Reese.
It's I want to have it. It's just it came up fast this year, and I think it was the move. Now, honestly,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm still not fully unpacked, and I just feel kind of discombobulated. It's just
Mhm.
I feel bad about that. I have a child. I really need to make it a big deal, and I've talked to him about it. I'm like, I'm sorry that I don't have up the decorations, and I just don't quite feel settled.
What did he say about that? Did he threaten to run away and leave you forever?
He's gone. He left, took off,
One less mouth to feed.
and that's a Scientologist right there. Oh well, start over and get a whole new kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he doesn't care. Huxley's
Yeah.
so chill. He's
He
like,
just cares that he's with you.
yeah, he's like, Mom, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
We're kind of just have each other. There's not a
Yeah.
lot of other family outside of my mom here, so and my sister, but that's okay. I mean, he's very cool and calm about stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is
You're
nice.
probably like, it's hitting you more, like it feels more because you're the mom and everything
Definitely.
else. I get that. Hey, everybody in the chat, welcome. Thank you, mods, for helping out today. Now, you have been busy. Part of why we haven't gotten together on our Friday night girls' night out.
No, last Friday I was in a different state. That's right.
You were, yeah, that's right, because I had texted you.
Yes,
You were
and I was like, I
in,
haven't even told anybody this. I didn't even tell you.
I know, I know. I think I found out before you got there, though. So you told me right. I knew it was coming. Like you were like just there or there.
Yeah.
You went to Vegas. And though I am fairly sure that most people who are tuning in right now know exactly, are familiar with Relatable Reese, but Reese went to Vegas. And if you're not, you know what, let's just, you want to just kind of like just explain a little bit about like when you left Scientology and just kind of a little bit of that story, just so we make sure everybody knows who might not be familiar. And then I'm going to pull up your channel at the same time.
Sure. I left Scientology. It's coming up on 2 years, Natalie. I thought it was a year and a half, and I realized New Year's Eve is in like a week. Um, New Year's Eve 2 years ago is when I got outed accidentally by our friend Aaron Smith Levin of growing up in Scientology. I was kind of under the radar talking to him. I'm 40 now. I was in Scientology for 38 years, born and raised. So, um, and it was it was just a thing. I was talking to him kind of under the radar, and he did a stream. I think it was New Year's Eve, exactly 2 years ago. It was for the New Year's Eve party at Flag, and I was giving him information about it, and he accidentally flashed my name up on the screen, and I was immediately lost all of my family members, all of my friends from Scientology overnight. Everybody was gone. So that was different. That was a different way. That was harsh, and I had a hard time with that coming out of it. And then I was married at the time to a fellow who was a member of the Masons, the Masonic organization, and a secret part of the Masons, very, very, very secret part of the Masons. You have to be a Shriner, and in order to be a Shriner, you can be what's called a Jester, and it's the Royal Order of Jesters. And they are a top secret organization within the Masons. That's the only way I know how to put it. And it's, what would you say? I mean, it's a secret kind of a sex society, you know.
Yeah.
This P Diddy stuff going on. It's a lot like that, just in a more poor version, trashy version of, you know, I mean, they're just a lower budget, but they're a bunch of guys that travel around with prostitutes, and they go to parties, and it's just kind of a secret sex cult. And so my husband at the time was involved in that. I found out about that. So it was just kind of a lot to balance and going on with coming out of Scientology and being a part of that. And I mean, he threatened me a lot with, "You're never going to talk to anyone about this." And it was quite frightening. Most of the members are in positions of power. Most of them are lawyers, judges, politicians, and cops. And that's specifically what they recruit. They've been around for 102 years. So they've been doing something right to keep it a secret, for sure, and threaten people from talking. And I didn't speak until I left him and got divorced. And so that's kind of what I've been talking about, going back and forth with Scientology and exposing the Royal Order of Jester cult that he was involved in. And I've got unfortunately, a ton of like evidence and stuff of their things. And I've been talking about that at length. And so
over on your channel. And here is Relatable Reese's channel. If you're not already subscribed, head over to Relatable Reese and hit that subscribe.
Thanks, guys. I picked up a lot of subscribers from Vegas last week, and from being on the Lifeboat, Tommy Scoville's channel. He's got a lot of new subs, and I picked up a lot of new subs, and just really nice people. I love meeting the new people. So
yeah. Well, gosh, Reese, you leave one cult, you marry kind of into another cult, you find out, you get a divorce, you move across the country. I don't know why you're not in the Christmas spirit.
I don't know why I can't get control of my life. Yeah.
Just figure that stuff out.
It's just, it's been a lot, Natalie, but I mean, I don't know. I go back and forth on this, and I think it's good to talk to a woman about it. I know a lot. I have a lot of private, personal evidence, not like stuff that you can go Google, but a lot of things that I have on the Jesters specifically. And I'm like, you know, I have been threatened. Reese seems to be a cult magnet.
Jersey Jan.
That's a good title for a book.
Cult magnet.
Cult magnet. I don't know, Nat. I mean, there's probably some element of danger to this. You know, it was scary being there. When I saw these guys, it was really frightening.
Paint the picture a little bit. Like you land in Vegas. You know where these jesters, this Royal Order of Jesters cult is having their event. You know you're not going to run into your ex-husband because they booted him like yesterday's garbage.
They did. They booted him for me talking about it.
Very scandalous.
Yeah. Pretty scandalous. Sorry about that.
Were you actually staying in the same place as where their event was going on?
Yes. So I can kind of paint that for you. So the guy I'm seeing, my boyfriend, Tommy Scoville, I called him up months ago and I said, they're having this party here. And the way I knew that was my ex-husband, because I know the whole schedule from all that. So I said, should we go? And he said, yeah, let's go. Let's do this. And I said, it could be dangerous. And he said, yeah, it'll be all right. With it, you know, we're both there. We'll be there. It was fine. But I called the hotel in Vegas. It was the Gold Coast trash city. I called the hotel and like a month before the party, Nat, and I was like, "Hey," I was like, I'm just booking travel for my husband." I was like, "He's a jester, and I want to make sure that the event's at this hotel." This dumb guy on the phone was like, yeah, the Royal Order of Jesters. We've got it here with these dates." Like he just gave it up on the phone. So I just wanted to double check that before I booked a room, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I got a room in the hotel, and they had like the entire second floor, and there was probably 1,000 of them there.
Wow. Now, when you say
And
second floor, do you mean like all the rooms were on one floor, or is the second floor meeting rooms?
second floor, like banquet meeting rooms is what they had. And then what they
Okay.
typically do, I don't know what floor they took down. They usually put all their rooms on a floor in a hotel so
Mhm.
that they can go in between rooms and do things. Um,
So the
so
whole purpose of these gatherings that they have, where 1,000 of them come, is it just to have like these sex parties? What do they call it? What do they consider this is?
Well, so it's two there's two elements to it. They're lying to everyone else. So like the public, it's almost like Scientology, like where it's like, curious, come check us out. You want to learn about tools to life? I mean, it's all, so the way they sell it is, and when I was married to him at the time, he would say, I'm part of a luxury gentleman's group. It's the cream of the
A
crop.
luxury gentlemen's group.
It's incredibly ethical gentlemen. They're the top type gentlemen of the world. And, he would sell it to me like, you're so lucky to be married to one of these guys because it's a higher echelon of man. And yeah. Now to each other though, I have all this evidence of how they talk to each other, and it's like Scientology too, where they have a different language. So they use different words, and it's all about transporting their prostitutes. And I would say I saw at least 100 prostitutes at this event with the men. So they recruit in girls, and one of them who I know personally, she's been a prostitute for almost 4 decades with the
Wow.
Jesters. I saw her there. She was pretty upset that I was there.
With the Jesters?
Yeah. And these girls are specifically Jester only girls. Like they travel only with them. These guys, so holy crap, I learned this yesterday. There's 197. This is all their cities. All the cities where they have different clubs. That's a lot.
Wow, that is a lot.
They're called Jester Courts. See that? Jester Courts?
Mm-hmm.
There's 197. So they have a party every week of the year, and it's from Wednesday to Sunday. And so these
At a
girls,
different city.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I mean, did your former husband go to all of this?
Dang, I thought I could block that.
Hold on, I got it.
This person keeps trolling every channel.
Do they, I mean, how does that work? Get back to every week there's a party.
Every week of the year they have a party. So like you saw the different cities. So each city has their own party. So for instance, my ex-husband was thanks Mama Opal, one of the highest traveled jesters in all of the jesters. So he had gone to over 150 parties. So they're expensive. They're not cheap.
So I'm assuming if these parties are in a hotel and you're talking Wednesday to Sunday, I mean, you've got like meeting rooms, regular rooms.
Yep. And then there's like a registration fee for the party. So like you're looking at a couple grand per party.
Wow.
So if you do one a month, that's just the party. And then you got to pay. I'm under the assumption, I don't know this to be positive, but he paid for the prostitutes. They're called privates. You can hire one the whole time you're there for 1 or 2 days. Depends on how much money you want to spend. Or you can hire them by the hour, or they're in the parties and they have like oral contests and things like that. So like there's different levels that you can pay. Mm-hmm. So if you don't really want to pay for like he did, he when I met him, he told me he was spending $10,000 a month on hookers. So
wait,
like
he told you this?
That was after I found everything. Yeah, I discovered everything, and he was pretty open with me after that.
Mm-hmm.
The girl that has been one for decades emailed me, and I did a long interview on her through email. And she goes, I slept with your husband a lot. And she said he would spend about $4,000 a weekend on me. So yeah, I mean, he was deeply in credit card debt by the time.
And this was going on when you were obviously when you were married.
He told me it was not, that
Mhm.
he was not sleeping with any of these girls while we were married. He went to the parties, but he had me convinced he never, I mean, he would say to me, "I know which side of my bread my butter is on, and why would I do that when I have you, and I don't need to sleep with anybody." And so he would say, "I'm totally not doing anything at these parties."
Then why go?
Right. I always said that to him because I used to be a drug addict. And I said, if I kept all my friends that I did drugs with, and let's say I went to these drug houses and did drugs and tried to tell you, I'm not doing any drugs, they're just my friends. I'm
Yeah.
not touching the stuff. Like, really? I mean, that's not really easy to do, especially if you live that lifestyle. Well, I believed him. Over the years, I started to believe that. I think because it just kept me sane.
Yeah.
But when I was in Vegas last week at this party, one of the guys walked past me. There were so many of them. One of them called me a CUNT. Like, there were so many of them that
Mhm.
just hate me. And one of them walked past me and said, he cheated on you all the time and you effing deserved it. And I was like, yeah, I figured. And one of them walked by me and said, I always hated your husband.
It's interesting how they know exactly who you are,
Oh,
that
yeah.
you're there. What was it like for you going in knowing that you were gonna that there could be that there's that many of them, that they'd be all over this hotel? What did that feel like
I
for you?
Great question. So all these years I've known about this, all I've been able to do is decorate it and make it huge in my head, Nat. I've never seen
Mhm.
it. All I know is like what I've imagined and what I've been told and what I've been lied to about. Well, one of the biggest things I was lied to about by my ex-husband was, you have to understand, he pounded this into my head when we would fight about this daily. He'd go, there are no prostitutes at the parties. They have to be miles away. They're in other hotels miles off the route. They can't be seen. They never come out of their rooms. If you want to do that, it's like four guys ruining it for everyone, and they go and they sleep with these girls miles away. Well, that's what I was told, and that's what I believed.
Yeah.
Well, so when I walked into the Lion's Den last week in Vegas, I had no idea what I was entering. I was shaking. I was freaked out at first. They were everywhere. There were women everywhere. And I showed this last night. I'm not going to show his name. This is one of my husband's jester name tags, and they're huge. Okay. This is big.
Mhm.
And they have diamonds all around them. It's like fake studded diamonds. They're real fancy, right? The girls were wearing these of the guys. They were the guys' name tags, and the girls were wearing them. I knew they were jester girls because they were on the arms of these guys. They were everywhere. I was really upset to see that. I was like, I was told these girls are nowhere near allowed to be anywhere on the premises, let alone, I mean, they were everywhere. They were on the elevators with me. They were kind of following me. Guys were hitting them on the ass. I mean, they were everywhere. And then I thought about it and I was like, I said this, I go, maybe my ex didn't lie to me. Maybe they lied to him because he was so unattractive. They were like, we have to be off the premises with you. We can't be seen. It's the rules. We got to be miles away with
Special
you.
special,
You have
deal and
special.
package for the
Mm,
cellist.
yeah, for the cellist. Um, no, but it was upsetting. I felt very triggered by that. I thought, oh
Yeah.
my God, I was told that these girls are nowhere near. There were girls taking pictures of me. Some of them were just holding their phones up, like
Mhm.
videoing me as I walked by. It was really gross. It was so trashy. And the other thing that Tommy said that's true, he goes, I'm actually glad that you saw this because in my mind, I've been glamorizing it. Like, they're
Mm.
in ball gowns and they're these beautiful women. And these, none of these wives can add up to, what these beautiful women are, Katie. And he said, he goes, take a look. We are here. Take a look at this. These women looked rough. It was sad. I'm not making fun of them. It was really sad. They were haggard. They looked terrible. They just looked like they hadn't slept, and they were all wrinkled. And it was not what I thought it was in my mind. I was just imagining this like red carpet looking, like it wasn't. It
Yeah.
was sad. It was really sad. It looked like these girls were there kind of against their will. Like, this is all they know how to do. And my husband told me that at the time. He goes, you could never do this. He said, this is all, they can't even be cashier. These girls are dumb. They don't know how to do anything except get paid to have sex. Like, he would say that to me.
Mhm.
And it was
It
so
really shows the
disrespectful.
disrespect. Yeah, it really speaks to what strikes me too, because I've been watching your channel of you as you've talked about this, is the disrespect for women, is you promote yourselves as this luxury gentleman, just the word gentleman. And that is not it at all. And then on top of it, you go there and you're finding out that it's like this Temu setup and not
Yeah.
even this, it is, there's nothing luxury about it, that it's just kind of gross and dirty. When you decided that you were going to go and you were going to be there, what was it? Did you have anything in mind that you hope to achieve or get out of it? Or were you, like, what was your plan in going, or intention or hopes?
I think closure in a lot of ways for me, because I had never actually seen it for myself. And I think I also wanted to, one, it's already very validating for me to have a voice and talk about this. I was silenced for so long. I was threatened with my life to never talk about this. So already before I ever went to a jester party, it felt good to go on YouTube and talk about this and expose it.
Yeah.
But it felt even better to stand in the same room as these guys and look them in the eye and have them look shocked that I was there. I mean, one of them, they did this to me. There was one guy that did this to me, like pretending to shoot me. I mean, they were really, really angry, and it felt in many ways, as scary as it was, I felt so much safer with Tommy there, but as
Yeah.
scary as it was, it felt so good to just look them in the eye and go, yeah, I can be here too. I can sit here and witness what you disgusting creeps are doing. And I said, right when we got there, when I saw all of them walking around through this casino with their jester clothes on, I mean, they don't hide it. They wear purple as their color, but it's their shirts say Royal Order of Jesters. They've got the
Yeah.
name tags, they've got hats, they've got everything. I said, Tommy, they're hiding in plain sight because nobody knows what this is. That's how they
Mhm.
get away with it. It just looks like a convention in town. Nobody knows what it is. You know, how many conventions to get together with t-shirts and hats? I mean, all the time. So, all these guys had wedding rings on. They were walking around with these girls in fishnets and really short skirts, and just, it was so trash. It was such
Mhm.
trash. But I think, what was I trying to accomplish? I got some closure out of it just by actually being able to breathe through seeing one, sit through it, watch it. And I thought, I'm glad I got to witness this, because all I'm gonna do is take it back to work with me, which is my
Yeah.
YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And, I'm gonna expose this as much as I can. I may write a book about it, but I mean, there's other big channels that I've talked to about going on.
Mhm.
Hey, John, by the way, I got your fudge yesterday and I already ate the chocolate strawberry and it changed my life. So, John, I love you so much. I think it was better than the fudge last year. It was so good. Um, is there a lot of drug use? I know of a
Other
girl.
than Viagra.
Yeah, lots of that. Um, I know of a girl who was going to a jester party in August called the Lake Party, and I was
Mhm.
tipped off that she was bringing cocaine to the party. The police were called and that was reported. They pulled her over before she got to the party, and she had cocaine on her, and she was busted and arrested. So, I have been told by many of my inside people that yes, they do bring drugs to the party. My husband never admitted to that at the time, so I wouldn't have known until now.
Mhm.
They do bring drugs, yes.
Yeah. Wow, John Shamwowski sending you fudge. Not to be any way and like totally jump subjects here, but I didn't get any fudge.
I think it's, still in the mail. It's not Christmas yet. You live further away. Trust me, you don't want it. I feel like my pants are tighter since I ate that last night. It's bad. It's bad. John, it was so good though. Thank you. I love fudge. I
Yeah,
love it. I love it so much. I always have. Look
yeah,
at Mama Opal throwing up your P.O.
yeah.
box. That's subtle. We'll just put this up there.
Will
That's
YouTube
hilarious.
for fudge.
It's true.
So when you're there, you get there, you're seeing all these people, they're all coming by. You're getting the gross out, just because, I mean, even just the thought of imagining this happening, but you're seeing it actually in real life while you're standing there and they know who you are. One, I think that's incredibly brave to put yourself in that situation. When I found out what you were doing, I was surprised, because it's so much. It's a lot. Did you get that closure? Did it help with that?
In a lot of ways, yes. In many ways, it did help. Also, I just though felt like this can't. I can't stop now at this point. After I've seen everything I saw, all those women, I just felt this weird. I don't know. This is what I wanted to talk to you about as a woman. I'm sitting on Nat. I have not shared 1% of the things that I have, and I have some bad stuff, and their names are all over it. It's correspondence from them. I was
Mhm.
saying this yesterday. I have emails from these guys with photos naked of these girls, passing photos around, going, "Okay, this is so and so. She's a single mother of 2. She's a non-smoker. We slept with her once at a Texas one. We want to get her more involved. Bob slept with her. He really liked it. We want to pass her around to the rest of the guys and see what I have specific trafficking uh correspondence. I mean, I have a lot of stuff, and I just feel like it's like our duty about Scientology. No one's ever going to see what's behind the curtain, but we have, right? Like we know we can answer every question you could possibly have.
Mhm.
This is the same here, but in a worse way in many ways because it's I don't know how deep this goes. I don't know if these people are underage. Like I just don't know. And I know enough that I can expose a lot and get it onto bigger channels, and hopefully it will put an end to this crap.
Yeah,
But
no,
at the same time, it's like, do I need to be the hero here? I don't know. Should I look away? I don't really want to, but
yeah.
I have a child. Like, I don't know how at risk I am by doing this. I also believe in sunlight being the best disinfectant. I mean, if they're going to come do something to me, it's going to be publicly known, right? I mean, if I go missing, people might notice.
They'd be the
And I didn't
first.
stream for 2 days, and people were like, "Are you do it? Blink twice. Do we need to come get you?"
Yeah, no kidding, especially after coming back from that. Grace, thanks for the super chat. Hello, beautiful at Life After a Cult
Aw.
and beautiful at Relatable Reese. First time catching a live
Wow,
stream.
welcome, Grace. I love that.
Awesome. And I forget where is SEK. Is that that denomination? I always forget
Yeah.
what country it's in, but I know it's a different one. Welcome. So glad that you're here. So in going there and seeing this, and like you said, it was helping with the closure, and now it seems like you're wrestling with how far you want to take it in terms of exposing it. I mean, the first place my mind goes, because when you talk about human trafficking and sex trafficking would be like the FBI, an organization like that.
Mhm.
Do you think that anything that you have or can share would be beneficial, or something that you would share with authorities?
I have. I mean,
Mhm.
it's been shared. Yeah, it's the hard part is who is a jester in those within those authorities.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're often involved in summer law enforcement, right? Like,
Oh,
what are
yeah.
some of the examples of who these men are? Like, they could be people that even we know, and we just don't know what they're involved in.
Absolutely. I mean, Tommy did his research. There's 2 congressmen, 1 congressman that's currently a jester in Washington now. President Harry Truman was a jester. President Gerald something was a jester. So, I mean, it runs deep, and they really do, recruit people within power to keep
Mhm.
themselves. I know personally 2 judges. One of them is running for, Supreme Court judge in their state, which is a big no-no, I'm told. See, Tommy's done Gerald Ford, that was it. Yeah, Brian. Tommy said that I didn't even know this. He does a lot more research on this stuff than me. And he said, in order to even become in office, like a judge,
Mhm.
you have to swear when you're sworn in, you're asked if you're a member of any secret societies, any groups, any secret groups. I mean, obviously the guy said no, right? So, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of attorneys. I personally, I know this. There's a lot of attorneys, and there's a can I know one of them is a Kansas City homicide detective. So, I mean,
Yeah.
they purposely recruit in people who are going to keep them safe, right, in their back
Mhm.
pockets.
And
A
that
lot
have
of
to make really.
politicians.
Yeah, because you
Huh?
need disposable income. I mean, this is not cheap when you're talking about thousands of dollars a party.
Yes. Have you seen that movie? It reminds me so much of the movie Eyes Wide Shut.
Yes. I haven't seen it in a long time, but yeah.
Oh, I love
Although
that
they're
movie
not,
so
are
much.
they? And you may or may not know this, like with Eyes Wide Shut, it's kind of this group activity,
It is
right?
a group activity.
So in their situation, so what do you mean by that? Without, of course, we probably can only get so graphic. It is Friday
Right.
after all.
It's a Friday. We're good. It's a group activity as far as like it's very similar to Eyes Wide Shut, where even the guys have to wear tuxedos to the parties.
Yeah.
There's
So
a
they wear
lot of
tuxedos and they still manage to look trashy.
yeah, and my ex husband told me they often rent rooms where they push like a bunch of beds together, and they have contests and things like that. It gets pretty raunchy. I don't know why the involvement, and they have all these pins, right? So they hide in plain sight. Like they have all these pins that they wear all the time, these pins, and they have their little logo on it. A lot of them have Leanda, welcome. Leanda, welcome.
First live.
A lot of them have animals on them.
Ah, okay.
And so I don't really know like what that entails. There's just a lot. There's some clips I've seen on YouTube that like they also involve a lot of animal stuff. I don't know what that means. I don't want to know. But yeah, it's Joel Sachs, it is sick.
Mhm.
As far as Eyes Wide Shut, it's a group thing for sure. Just I know because they all have to get together. I know that women are just objects. Like even being the wife of one, I've said this many times. I've gone to parties where we're allowed to attend, like where wives. I've gone to funerals, of course. Oh, I can't even. There's been so many people that would come up in front of my husband and grab me, grope me, grab me on the butt, say gross things to me. And it's almost like it's a brotherhood. It's a fellowship where they're it's like when they're initiated in, maybe.
What is
Like
the demographic? How old are these men that we're talking about?
they're
I may
old.
even hesitate to call them men.
Most of them are long-time jesters. So the majority of them are probably 70s to 90s. They recruit in new guys every year and they're trying to get younger and younger. But I would say the average is like 70, 80.
So this isn't a lot of
And
this.
white, no black people. No
Mm.
black people.
Wow. What in the world?
They're
Wow.
very racist.
So they're in their 70s and 80s. There's not a lot of, you're not running around seeing a lot of guys in their 30s, for example.
I think I only know of one in their 30s. I know there's a couple of attorneys in Kansas City that are in their 40s. They have their own firms. They're young.
Yeah. This is a great question from Justine. Yep. Do they get together or just get together with the women? So I guess he's saying, is there a man-on-man action?
No, I don't think so. I mean, there could be. Yeah. I'm sure there could be, right? But I don't think so. And
but they'll go for the animals, like Mock is saying. They're into breaking taboos, and animals are a taboo.
Yeah.
But
I've never been into, so their actual parties are behind sealed doors with off-duty cops. So you can't get into one of the actual parties, right? Like those are specifically, you have to wear a wristband. Like you can't just get in.
Do they take their cell phones? I mean, how are they making sure?
No. So that's how I knew. Let's just rewind for a second. That's how I knew when I married this guy. And he said, I'm a jester and it's a highly, prestigious, and you're so lucky to be the wife of one. You have no idea what it means, and just really selling me on it. And just even coming from Scientology, we're natural sleuths. We question things. We do. I'm sorry, but like from us being interrogated all the time, I'm not just going to take wooden nickels. It's ridiculous. So he says to me, I go to these parties and it's stag, it's men only. And we play golf and we smoke cigars and have a little poker fun. And he just tried to sell it to me like it was Boy Scouts, and I was like, yeah, all right. But what tipped me off is he said, all right, now I'm gone for 5 days and I can't have my phone. And I was like, what do you who believes this? And he goes, I have to leave it in the hotel room just for safety reasons. And I said, no. 5 days already got me pretty heated up. I was like, wait, do you have a job? Like who goes for 5 days once or twice a month to just a party?
Yeah. And doesn't do anything.
Doesn't do anything. And you can't have your phone. So I knew right away. And I said that to him. The second he said that, I said, there's something more to this and I'm going to find out what it is. Yeah. And he said, there's nothing more.
Eunice says, lucky. Oh, yeah, so lucky to be the wife of a member of a sex cult. So lucky. That is the thing that strikes me too, is like I was talking about earlier, that the disrespect for women, the devaluing women, like they just seeing women. And it's interesting to me that most of them are of an age where, there are exceptions, of course, but sometimes many of a certain, age just hasn't quite gotten the message yet that we don't do that anymore. Like they never heard of the Me Too movement. There's
Yeah.
such a disrespect. You contrast that to, I have met some amazing men, young men especially. But to me, a young man is like anybody under 50. I
Ah,
feel anybody
ah,
younger than me is a young man.
same.
It's not the same, it's different. And that older generation, not everyone, of course, there are some real gentlemen who are older. So I'm not making a blanket statement about men at all.
Right.
But there does seem to be a certain demographic and a certain way of thinking in that. I'm wondering, do you think, with what you know and what you've experienced so far, is this an organization where people are just going to age out because there are no new people coming in? Hey,
Thank
Tori.
you, Tori. Yes, absolutely. I think that's going to happen eventually. And I've been saying, like, this is like the Diddy stuff. People aren't going to stand for this anymore, Nat. And
Yeah.
I saw a comment from Teresa. She said, men in their 30s know how to hire sex workers without needing to be a part of a gross old man club. Believe me, the younger ones are hiring for private, less money and publicity. That's the key right there. Like, I'm not against sex work, but
Yeah.
this was never about that. This is like the Diddy thing. This is power. This is corruption. This is gross. These guys believe they're God. This has nothing to do with sex, not in my opinion. This
Yeah.
has to do with, I own you. I control you. You're going to fly wherever I tell you to fly, and you're going to oral or do whatever with me whenever I say at the snap of my fingers. That's what this is about. And I know that because that's how I was treated in my last marriage. It was all about very sexual. And I didn't see it that way until I divorced him, honestly. Like, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun sexual marriage, but toward the end, it got weirder and weirder. And I've said this. I remember he used to wake me up in the middle of the night and I would say no. I was like, no, I'm sleeping. And he would go, no means yes. And
Wow.
it was very in control. It was very, no means yes. And it was freaky. It was intimidating. And I
Mm.
was like, so what does that mean? Like, I don't have a choice. And that's what I think this is about. This is not, like Teresa said, if you're in your 30s and want to go hire someone because you don't want a girlfriend and you don't want the strings attached, and hey, I
Mhm.
get it. I
Yeah,
get it. I don't
there
I
are
don't see anything.
places where it's
And
legal.
but it's consented and the woman's getting paid what she asks and all that. It's on the up and up. I don't have an issue with that at all. This is not that. This is control and coercion. It
Yeah.
is.
Yep. Joe says, had to do some research after Reese's live with Tommy blew me away.
Yeah, Joe. That's the problem too, Nat, is so many people are reaching out to me saying, um, oh my God, like I go down these rabbit holes all the time. I've never heard of these guys. You can't Google much about them. You're not going to find much. And so that's why I think I go back and forth. I'm like, should I continue to expose this or should I
Mhm.
just leave it alone? If I don't, somebody will. Eventually
Yeah.
this will be on the radar. And I have so much evidence. And I just think, go for it. And I really don't think they'll do anything to me. I mean, they're going to try to threaten me. They already have. I've gotten all kinds of threatening emails.
Well, if they
And
did, they'd have to do it before the 4:30 dinner hour because they're, older.
it is weird. My threats are always early
Early in
in
the
the
day,
morning. They're early birds at Denny's.
they're threatening to
Um,
take away your Bengay.
mm, yeah,
What if
I
they
don't think they're
mixed
gonna.
up the lube with the Bengay? How do they keep it all straight? I mean, think about it. If they're really
I don't even
70,
keep it
80 years
up.
old, yeah, running around doing these things. I mean, not everybody, but I know some people. Some people get their license taken away.
I've
Should
never
this
seen so
work?
much Cialis in my life while I was involved. Um, I don't think they're actually gonna do anything to me. I could
Yeah,
be being naive. I could be. I tend to be naive. Let's hope they don't. Like, I worry about that. Tommy, when I was visiting him last week and his brother Johnny, they were like, you do need to make sure that you're what did they say? Hyper aware. Like, even traveling at the airport, like make sure that you don't
yeah. Pay
leave
attention.
your bag somewhere where like someone
Yeah,
could put. I mean, that's what they kept alluding to, is like maybe they'll plant something on you, like to get
yeah.
you arrested.
Rain
I'm
virus said
sure.
she's mixed up the two.
Rain virus. I
Lube and
love rain
Bengay.
virus. Yeah.
Well, I think
Um,
just by even continuing to talk about it and share your experience, one, it's how you process. We know this. If anybody,
mm,
people who watch your channel and have been with you since you've been on YouTube, it's like how you process. So it's good for you. It can
Yeah.
also, I think and I know you've had people reach out to you who are like, "Oh my gosh, my dad was involved with this and I didn't know," or "We always wondered why." I mean, this is something that has been around for an incredibly long time
Yeah.
and has been exploiting women and for a very long time. So,
A very long time,
yeah.
over 100 years. I keep saying, in many ways, this is worse than the Diddy stuff because they've gotten away with it for so much longer. They've
Mhm.
just been doing this, and, I remember my husband saying to me, "You will never talk about this," and I remember he said, "Do you want something to happen to you?" And I was like, "What does that mean?" And he said, "Do you think you're the first wife that's found out about this?" And he said, "You will be silenced." And I thought, "Oh my god."
You will be silenced.
Why do I feel like I'm in The Sopranos right now? I mean, it was weird. It was weird, and I don't know if there's any truth to what he said, but, it's out there now. So even
Yeah,
if somebody did something to me, it's out there now. It's too
yeah.
late, and everything I have copies of, an attorney has the copies, Tommy has the copies, 2 of my friends in Kansas City have the
Mhm.
copies. There's not much you're gonna be able to do.
Yeah. Do you think that your experiencing growing up in Scientology and being in Scientology and dealing with that craziness and leaving in any way made you better prepared for a situation like this in terms of what
Yeah.
you're able to take on? Tell me a little bit about
Well, I
about
think
that.
you understand that. Like, we are pretty desensitized in Scientology from a
Mhm.
very young age, doing all of the training we do. I hate to say this, but I mean, like, even I can think of horrible situations where someone's like, they unalive themselves, and I'm being like,
Mhm.
all right, well, let's get back to work. I mean, it's just we're formed to be hardened, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I think this is good for me because they're not going to scare me. Jeff's my ex-husband, his ex-wife, I'm friends with, and she messages me a lot and she's like, "This is so triggering, this stuff." Like, I told him all the time, "You're not going to break me." Like, he would really try, and I was like,
Yeah.
"I was a Scientologist. Like, this isn't gonna
Absolutely.
happen for you." It's true, though. I mean, a lot of our training makes us, I don't wanna say tough, but, like, at least falsely tough. We're prepared for it, right? I mean,
Well, I think also too, not just that, but as I think get older too, especially as women, it's like there's a level to more of confidence and security in who we are, and you're just, not gonna tell me. And in leaving Scientology, I think, in my opinion, I think the act of leaving a human trafficking cult like that is what really makes you, tough to stand up to that and be able to pull away from it and all of the deprogramming that we have to do on ourselves. And for years, cult experts say that Scientology is the most difficult cult to recover from.
yeah,
And
you
I
told
think,
me that. I didn't know that.
yeah, yeah, they say it takes an average of 12 and a half years. Yeah, no,
That's
that's it. Yeah, and it's different for different people, and so much of it depends on your experience and I think how you deal with it and whether, the tools, finding for me, leaving Scientology, the things that helped was finding tools that actually do help in life, which we can find so many places for free, nothing like in Scientology.
right.
And I think through that process of the indoctrination of growing up with it, but then breaking free from it, I feel like is what really and we survive it and we realize because we were raised to believe that if we ever left, our whole lives would fall apart. And, we lose people in terms of disconnection and you lost many, but that a willingness to do that and still do what we know to be right and advocate for ourselves, I think is what really makes you tough. And things after that, I know for me, I'm like, if somebody calls me names, like that doesn't even bother me. Not so
Mm,
much because of my Scientology training, but because I escaped a human trafficking cult that then harassed me and sometimes still likes to poke their head up. Like, there's nothing you can say to me or about me
yeah,
mostly because I know it has nothing to do with me. That's, people who wanna get into name calling and things like that more has to do with them and the space that they live in and the way that they see the world, right? You
yes.
leave and you've been exposed to so many things, and then you're sucked into this situation with this cult, but like, you've already survived so much.
Right. this is not going to take me down. That's the way I look
Yeah.
at it too. Like, we've been through so much. That's why I think Reddit needs to move on, and all the people who make fun of us, because it's like, I don't think you realize what you're dealing with. You're going to hurt your own feelings before you hurt mine. Like,
Mhm.
I don't care what a total stranger writes a whole, you know, dissertation about me on a like on some internet site. It's not, it's just doesn't phase us. And that, I'm thankful for Scientology because of that. Honestly, I'm thankful that I don't have that issue.
But I think I want to ask you about this, specifically about that, because I kind of look at it like this, that what happened to you, us, but let's say specifically you, to make you desensitized to these things, right? I feel like their survival or their survival skill comes from surviving it and getting through it versus it gave us that. I feel like surviving that and being tough and getting through it
Yeah,
comes more from who we are, not because of what
probably.
Scientology created
Right.
within us, but
You
I
make a
feel
good
like,
point.
yeah, you're a survivor at your core. And even without Scientology, I mean, you got through, drugs, right? Like like a lot of things. And I
Yeah.
think it's like your nature. But I think that Scientology wasn't what helped us be tough. It was our endurance and our ability to stand up to
Yeah.
it and look it in the eye when we had to. That is what built that character and that ability to stand up. And I see you doing it now with this situation.
Yeah. I never looked at it like that. You always give me something different to look at, some different perspective. You're right. That wasn't really a gift from Scientology.
Mhm.
It's like we had to manifest that gift almost for ourselves to kind of
Need
be
to
able
flex the
to
muscle.
withstand it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, when you're not
That's
in an
sad.
environment where you're constantly kept in fight or flight, why would you need to be tough? Why would you need to have an
Right.
ability to endure? It's just
Yeah.
it's not the way to do it, and I think that way with a lot of former Scientologists, it's because I used to think that way too, like, well, but, did it toughen me up? No, what my survival skills, and that is no way to, like, there's so much we can learn from that, I think, moving forward, and I think because you did that, and even though, when like, you wanted to leave, you were an under the radar Scientologist, but you didn't wanna lose your family and all those connections, and that's what keeps so many people trapped in that. And then when your name flashed up on that screen, and you said multiple times it was like the best thing to happen to you
Oh, yeah.
because you wouldn't have broke free. And I've heard you say that a lot, that I never would have left. And I would almost challenge that, because the Reese that I see today, the things that you're doing, that you've done, I'll look at that and go, I don't know. I feel like this bitch would have left. I think that eventually, like, you would have got there, or they would have kicked you out for doing some shenanigans that they deserved.
Good point, Nat. Maybe. And I do feel a lot different now than I did back when I was a Scientologist.
Mhm.
The only reason I say I wouldn't have left, it wasn't out of like because I felt so beat down. It was I didn't want to lose everybody. That was, how they hold that over your head. It
Mm.
wasn't so much that I wasn't willing to sing like a canary. I had the words. I would have probably been willing to do that. It wasn't wasn't willing to lose though. And so I don't know. It's hard to say if I would have. I still kind of stand by saying I don't think I would have left just because I miss my family.
Yeah,
I miss everybody. I'm glad that I was shoved out. Let's put it that way. I'm so
yeah.
thankful to Aaron still for that. I mean, it's coming up on 2 years.
That's
And
crazy. And your 2-year anniversary is New Year's Eve, and mine is New Year's Day.
it's so
Yeah.
crazy.
Right? I know. We made our big announcement then.
That's a great question right there from Justice. Do you think that the that deprogram goes faster if you are a YouTuber who has support of the never ends? For me, 100%.
Yeah, I would say so too. Absolutely. 110%. I know, even though I've been out of Scientology for a long time, there's been a different layer of healing and understanding that I've gained from all of our friends who've never been in Scientology, because they can look at something, I'll share something, and to me, it's not a big deal, or I'll think, well, that's not that bad. And they're shocked by it. And that helps me understand that even though this is something that at the time I didn't see as being this big negative, it doesn't mean it wasn't okay. And being able to give the proper words to a lot of our experiences, just even doing training routines, the
Mhm.
indoctrination, the brainwashing. The other day on my channel, I talked about false data stripping, like these
Mhm.
different things done in Scientology to put those blinders on and keep them on are so strong. And not having that anymore, not, in a way, I think for one, I think you got to write about it, because to go from Scientology and then find out that you're married to somebody in a sex cult and in this situation, and then have to go through that and deal with it, they're so similar in ways.
Oh, yeah. I still say, though, I would take Scientology any day. That secret sex cult was it's just different, Nat. It's different because I think of Scientology as more ethical, and I didn't see any of that kind of weird sex behavior in Scientology. I have a real problem with people having to have sex against their will, sex for money, where they're being coerced to do it and they have no other way. Like my husband would say, like, they can't do anything else. They couldn't even be a cashier. It's all they know how to do. So to me, it's like, is that because you want to do it or because you're being told you can't do anything else?
Yeah.
It just seems very abusive and different, and so different than Scientology.
Hmm.
I never felt like I was being that's just such a sleazy
Hmm.
it's such a different feel than Scientology for me. I would take
Yeah.
Scientology any day over that. It's disgusting. I still say that. I mean, after what I witnessed last week, it's just so sleazy. Scientology to me is not sleazy. Like I never felt abused like that. I never saw that kind of, not saying that doesn't happen in Scientology. It's just it never came
Hmm.
into my view.
When I think there's something even more that we feel deeper as women when we hear about other women going through an experience like that, and
Yes.
we can't help but feel empathetic and
Yes. And
have
put
compassion.
yourself in their shoes.
Exactly, like how, how that, especially when you mentioned that one woman who'd been doing it for 40 years. That's just really
Oh, and
hard to
she looked
comprehend.
so haggard. I'd never seen her in person, and I saw
Mhm.
her twice last week, and the first time I saw her, she couldn't talk. She had a guy with her. He had a grip on her
Yeah.
arm, and, the second time I saw her, she was standing with a bunch of other prostitutes by the elevator, and I walked by her and I smiled, and she went, "Reese!" And I turned around, she said, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And Tommy made a good point. He goes,
Now
"She
how
was
did she know what you look like and who you were?
Facebook. We've talked on Facebook
Okay.
back and forth a lot, and she slept with my husband a lot.
Mm,
Um, and Tommy made a good point. He goes, "She was angry at you because you got to see her at work and how it's not glamorized like you thought it was, and she
yeah.
looked haggard and tired and kind of beaten down, and it's not what you think it is." And he said, "Honestly, I think they were all of them were really scowling at me." He said, "They're jealous because you're free." It
Mm,
was really sad. I cried a couple of times when I was there. He said it's a sad situation because these girls are not free. They're doing
yeah.
this because they have to do it. They're slaves to this. And so yeah, there's something about being a woman and seeing that, and it's like, I don't want to stop. I don't want to stop exposing this. Even if these girls say, like, we're fine, we're doing this because they want to. You're not. Some of them are second gens like we are Scientologists. Like their mothers are prostitutes in the Jesters.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like, get no, this is not what you wanna do. These guys are awful. They mistreat them, I think, and it's so sleazy.
Yeah.
So, it does make you really feel for these girls, and it does make you kinda put yourself in their shoes, and I did feel that walking past them like they were slaves. Like, I definitely got this vibe of, like, I'm on the outside, they're on the inside. I can do what I want. I'm here on my own volition. They're not.
Yeah.
They were wearing these guys' name tags. That's gross. I don't know if that was because the guys are going, "Here, put this on so everybody knows you're mine for the weekend." Like, I don't know what the symbolism is behind that.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
disgusting.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, these idiots are wearing wedding rings, these guys, telling their wives they're just at some fellowship, gathering.
yeah. Were any of them, it sounds like they didn't shy away either, even the people who recognized you, like, they weren't trying to hide or not be seen, or, did you notice any of that?
So they were in the beginning. In the beginning, I saw them, and once I was spotted, I said to Tommy about, I don't know, most of the day went by, and I said, "Do you notice they're gone?" It's like they had some meeting up in their room and said like, don't get your picture taken. I couldn't stream because it was in a casino. And the gaming commission laws, the gaming commission so I spoke with a privacy attorney and covered all my bases before I even decided to do this trip. I spoke with a privacy attorney at length, and this person said, too bad this is in Vegas, because if this was anywhere else, you'd be fine. But they're serious about streaming. You cannot have any hidden cameras, nothing like that. You can get arrested for that. And these guys obviously are going to press charges to the fullest if you break a law. So you need to be really careful. So I purposely had my phone out. I didn't have it seem like it was hidden, but you cannot stream or take photos in a casino. So I took a few shots of pictures. I never streamed, but what happened was after they all disappeared, I said to Tommy, I said, does it seem like they had a meeting or something? Like she's here, no one. But then later in the day, I went outside to stream and I stepped far away where like the taxis come from the casino, and they had called the police. And I was streaming and the cops were waiting for me, which was weird. They were waiting for me to end the stream. And I ended the stream and they walked up to me and there was like 40 jesters behind them, smiling, laughing, cackling, taunting me. And this guy was such a dick, this cop. And he had a hotel cop with him. And he said, can I see some ID? And I said, sure. I said, what's this about? And he goes, well, I don't know. What do you think this is about? And I said, I don't know. What do you think that I think this is about? Like, I'm not, let's not be stupid. Let's just, I hate
use
that
your
about
words.
use your words. Yeah. I hate that. It's like, really? You're going to take the time to come up and ask for my ID and then question why I think, it's like, come on. And I said, I don't know.
You
what
should
do you
have
think
told
that
him, I don't know. Do you think I have donuts in my purse?
Yeah. And I would have had to go fund me to get out of jail. It was so lame though. And I just said, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. I was getting kind of pissed. I was like, that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, the Royal Order of Jesters. And I said, yeah, what about them? And he said, you're harassing them. And I said, harassing them how?
Harassing who? Aren't they a secret organization?
Aren't they? I believe wholeheartedly though that the jesters have these guys in their pockets. Like I'm sure
Reese, it probably was some form of elder abuse. If you think about it, you were elder abusing them.
I was trying to pick up my next husband.
You
No,
should have told him that's what you were there for. I'm trolling for my next daddy.
I'm trying to find my grandpa. I have no doubt. I mean, there's a ton of jester cops. That's why they recruit these guys, right? They want to be solid in every party they're in. They want to have a judge, a lawyer, and a cop in every city where they go. And so I don't know. I felt very much like the guy was in their pocket. I have no idea if that's true. But he just said, I said, first of all, he goes, you're harassing them. And I said, I'm a guest at this hotel. He said, really? What's your room number? Like he didn't believe me. And I said, here's my room key. And I handed him the key. And then he kind of relaxed after that. Tommy said, he goes, it's because had you not been a guest at the hotel, he would have told you to get the hell out. Like you can't come back. But he said, because you were staying there, it changed the game a little bit. And he just said, it was really creepy, Nat. He said, this is your warning. He said, you are not to take your phone out, no pictures, no video. And I said, I just streamed on public property. And he goes, no, you didn't. This is hotel property. And I said, oh, I didn't think it was. I didn't know. And he said, yeah, this is hotel property. And I'm giving you a final warning right now. He said, no phones, no nothing to be taken out going forward with the jesters at all.
Here's what's crazy to me, why he was pushing. And obviously he had some connection to the jesters, because why not just say, the law is that you can't be doing it in a casino. So don't pull out your phone and take pictures and video in the casino. It's why specifically this group? That sounds like he's obviously in their pocket or there's a relationship there.
Something. There's definitely, it was, well, here's also why. I don't even think, I haven't checked with an attorney yet. I don't think any of that was legal, what he did. And the reason for that is I can't take my phone out. So these guys are all cackling behind him, laughing, taunting me. So the second the cop leaves, I look at Tommy and I said, look, I'm taking this seriously. We're not going to push this. Like, do
Mhm.
not take your phone out. I am not, like, he's already a convict, right? Like, he's got a record.
Yeah.
I don't, but still, I'm like, they are going to look for any reason. So
Yeah.
let's not give them one. So I was on edge after that. And we had the rest of it. We were going to stay another day in this hotel. And I said, no way, I'm not staying here. I want to get the hell out of here now.
Yeah.
Honestly, I felt so uncomfortable in my skin. So we go in and we ate dinner. And I was going to do more streaming. Like, I had all these plans. I was like, mm-mm. So we eat dinner, and all of a sudden, Nat, they came out in droves. And that's when the hookers came out. I saw probably 100 hookers. And all of a sudden, they were bold. They were snapping pictures of me. One of them had her flash on. And
So they're
Tommy and I were
taking
like,
their phone out in the casino.
that's what I mean. So none of this was even legal to begin with. So the cop tells me I'm not allowed to get my phone out, but they can take pictures of me. So, like, I wasn't going to question it. Again, I was done. I'd gotten all the pictures I needed anyway.
Mhm.
But one of the girls had her flash on and she was taking pictures of me. And I said, you know, you got to be a little more subtle, like turn your flash off, but I'll smile for you either way.
No, you should
One
be
of
like, "No, keep the flash, girl, because lighting helps. Let me pose. Get my good side. This side. Now try that side."
I was like, hold on, I blinked.
Yeah, exactly. "Can I see it? Do you have a good filter? Can you run it through Lensa?"
Is there anything in my teeth? Who are stronger? Weird question. Jesters or Scientology? Probably Scientology, because Scientology is a billion-dollar organization. They have more resources. Now, Jesters are like Scientology. I have not said this. They are not tax exempt.
What?
They're tax exempt organization.
Bitch, please. Seriously?
Yeah. They're tax exempt, and they make lots and lots of money on dues every year. That's how they have their parties. Everybody has to pay like $1,000 a year to be a jester, just in dues. So they get all these, they're tax exempt. It's pretty effed up.
That completely is, because I wonder what type of tax exemption they have.
It has something to
It'd be
do with
interesting to
they're a
find out.
charity because of the Shriners, and they're not.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Do they even pretend to do any type of public betterment?
nope, they make that clear too, that they are not a charity organization.
But they're nonprofit.
Yeah, and they have big, big parties. But after, I just want to say, after the cops left and we had to put our phones away, and obviously they knew we couldn't get our phones out. Somebody told them that. Oh my God, they came out in droves. Like, one of them, Tommy went off to the bathroom and 3 of them approached me. It was so creepy. And they said, hey, little girl, they said, awfully brave of you to be around without your convict. And I said, isn't it? And they said, why don't you come upstairs with us to a jester party and we'll show you what a party really looks like. And I was like,
You tell
oh,
them you
that's
didn't.
not grapey.
Mhm. Awfully brave of you to be out without a diaper on, or do you have it on, Grandpa?
Awfully brave of you to be down here without your teeth in.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my God. I wish I would have thought of that. And I'm pretty quick on my feet. I wish I would have thought, I think because I didn't think that. I was pretty spooked by that, honestly.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
come
I
back
get
with us. Come
it. Mhm.
upstairs with us where we can perform something really
Oh,
creepy.
yeah, no. I'd have given it
Yeah.
right back to them. They can't take it when you do it back, because it's all about control, so sometimes you just gotta reverse that control.
Yeah, I should have.
But you know
But
what? That's so
they
disgusting and gross. I mean, at the end of the day, you shouldn't even have to. Just moving away and getting away from that craziness. You didn't need to engage with those weirdos.
right.
That's the
But
Natalie
Nat,
After Dark coming out being like, "You know what I would have said?"
Natalie After Dark.
I'm like, "I'm
Hey, Denise.
Polynesian, bitch. We can go right now."
See, I was a little spooked, but I can't even describe what it felt like to have over 100 pairs of eyeballs watching me from every part of the room. And
Yeah,
they
and then
had
all of a
phones up.
sudden, they came out all at one time, so maybe that was like they
Yes.
were swarming you to try and
Oh,
intimidate you into leaving.
for sure. After the cop thing happened, it was like all of a sudden the bravery came out. They came out in droves. All the hookers were just happy to be out. They knew we couldn't take pictures. And so I
Mhm.
think they were almost taunting us on purpose to try to take a picture so we could get kicked out.
Yeah, you're probably be yeah, I think you're right. You're right, 'cause then
Oh,
they
for
would've just said, "Oh,
sure. So
you
Tommy
took
and
the
I go up to the
picture."
room. This was creepy. So we go to bed. I went to bed. I was like, I can't even, like, I want to get out of here now. I was really spooked. I get in the shower the next morning And he goes, I'm going to do a quick stream. And I thought, oh my God, no. But he goes, trust me, you can stream from the room. And I'm like, that's not what they said. Like, no streaming on hotel property. And he was like, this is a domicile. Like, it's a private room. We're paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes to
Yeah,
stream.
you can't stream in the hotel room, but you can bang hookers in the other room.
No
Which is
problem.
not legal.
That's legal.
In
No,
Vegas,
I'm pretty sure it is.
that.
There's a loophole. But he goes to stream and the internet cut out. So then he goes to call his son because his son was putting up the thumbnail and there was no way to make a phone call. So I get out of the shower and he's like pacing and he's like, I have no signal. So I'm like, what? So I try to call my mom and it says call dropped. And I was like, we got to get out of here. Like, I want to get out of here right now. So I like started putting on my skincare. I was like, why am I even putting makeup on? Like, I was throwing stuff into my bag. I was like, hold on, I got to put my eyeshadow on. Like, I was like, we got to get out of here. And I did. He was like, do you want to eat breakfast? And I was like, nope, I want to get out of here. I felt like we were going to get arrested. Like, I was waiting for cops to come pounding on that door. And again, it wasn't me. It was Tommy I was worried about. Because he's got a record and I don't. And I thought for something they're going to try to get him on, and I thought, oh my God, we have to get out of here. And I did. He goes, you don't want to? And I said, no, I want to go. I want to get out of here now. I felt very unsafe. Like, I have rarely in my life I had bells, whistles, and alarms going off in my whole body. I was like, we have to get out of here. Like, he kept trying to talk and I was like, get your stuff. Like, we got to go. We got to go now. Like, I just want to get off the property of this place. So, I mean, who knows what they have in their back pocket? Who knows what kind of a slimy situation was going on there? And I thought, if I get some pound at the store and it's like some cop going, put your hands behind your back. Like, I was like, it's just not worth it. I want to get out of here. So, anyway, that was that. And I can't wait to go to the next party.
Will you really go to another party?
I probably, yeah.
So
yeah, I definitely let them know that. Like, watch it, fellas, because you don't know what party I'm going to be at.
Yeah. They're in different states, right? Well, obviously, because per the book, all kinds of places.
And I wear wigs now. I think you saw
I saw.
Yeah. Next time I'm going to have a mullet and a beard and mustache and a top hat. Because I want to be fancy.
Hat. It's the top hat that makes it.
Mm-hmm.
SRC.
Like Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirte. Don't get it twisted. Question for you, SRC. Thank you. Reese, do you think Fred had regrets about being a jester after meeting and obviously finding true love with you?
I do. I think he probably did. I think that toward the end, he told me a lot about the initiation process and he was really spooked about it. And I think he felt a lot of guilt about it.
What's the initiation process?
Well, they give you a prostitute. They blindfold you. They take photos of that so that you can always be blackmailed if you decide that you want to speak up.
That's how they do it. Because that was going to be my other question is how for so many years, going on decades, what'd you say, 100 years? Over 100 years? Does nobody rat? And that makes sense. So they take the blackmail.
Oh, it's like an Epstein situation. This is a small Epstein situation where they absolutely record. I'm sure they record at the parties where they have the oral contests. Absolutely. They get dirt on these guys right away.
Wow. And that's how they keep them there. So the initiation, did you say blindfolded or did I just make that part up?
Yeah, okay. They did. They blindfold them and they give them a prostitute.
And then they have relations. And they take pictures of it to blackmail the person. Wow. I'm really surprised he told you that.
Yeah, Fred, I think, I mean, there's no question, I'm not trying to paint Fred in such, I know how Fred treated me. He was a good person. He treated me well. He was not a sleazebag to women. That's important to me. I also don't have a question here, guys. He was a jester for 50 years. Okay. I'm not being naive. I'm sure Fred probably cheated on his wife. I'm sure Fred did some sleazy things. I'm not trying to say Fred was this perfect, guy. I don't know. He never told me that. And I think he felt strong regret at the end of his life. The reason I know that, thank you, Eagle Eye. The reason I know that is because whenever I didn't know anything about the jesters, whenever Why the blindfold, Shelley? I wondered if it was because they give him a man.
And that's how they blackmail him. Like they have to do something with a man.
Maybe
Hmm.
as
I
part of the
feel like Fred would
initiation.
have told you. Well, he said
Maybe they
prostitutes.
didn't do
He
it
didn't
that
say
way
it.
then. I mean, he was
Yeah.
initiated 50 years ago at the time.
Mhm.
Fred did tell me right away he was a jester, but the thing I'm trying to say is I think he felt regret because I didn't know much about the jesters. He didn't participate in anything. So every time there was some kind of a local event or party or lunch or anything, I would get told. He would say like there's a jester thing and I'd go, "Do you want to go? Go. I got to work anyway," or whatever, and he'd go,
Yeah.
"Nope, I'd rather be with you." He never went to any of that stuff. And then one time, one of his jester friends really disrespected me, and it was at a Christmas party, and he was super disrespectful. And he had been a long time jester friend of this guy. And the guy, he flipped out on him and he said, "Show some respect to my wife." Like he really flipped out. And Fred wanted to leave the party, and it was full of jesters. And I said, "Fred," I didn't know how bad these guys were. And I said, "Fred, it's okay." And he said, "It's not okay."
Yeah.
And I said, "But they're your friends." And he said, "I'll get new friends." So, I mean, he was not like so intertwined at that point. Like
Mhm.
my ex-husband, a guy groped me on the ass in front of him. And he was like, "Well, you know," I mean, it's just, it didn't phase them.
Mhm.
They're, everything is just common community property. Fred was not like that. So I don't know. I go back and forth. I'm sure in 50 years, Fred did some sleazy shit.
Mhm.
Sorry. I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
I'm not overlooking that, but I'm just saying at the end of his life when I met him, he treated me like gold. He treated me with respect, and he never attended these parties. I think he died with regret about it.
Mm, that makes sense. Did has anyone ever talked about, because you've spoken to some of the women, some of the hired women who who've been being hired by the jesters for years. What's their take on it? I mean, it's how they're making a living, but did they give you any insight about the
Yeah.
men?
Yes,
Tell me about that.
the one who had been in for a long time. She gave me a lot of insight, more than I was comfortable with. Honestly, I was kind of surprised. I thought maybe she would have
Yeah.
gotten kicked out, but she was there. She just said that she grew up very poor, and she said, "I have been involved in this situation for decades." And I think she was kind of like we are in Scientology. I think she was really indoctrinated. I think she was really sold on how lucky she is to be one. She kept saying to me, "I would have never, I've traveled the world with these guys. They love it. They love to get away from their wives. And, we're saving their marriages by doing this. We're keeping them happy. And I go on trips and cruises, and I've seen, Bangladesh and all these places I never thought I would have seen. And I'm so lucky to make this much money." She was like, "I own properties all over the place. I've been able to take care of my mother in a senior living home." Like she just glamorized it. She was just like,
Mhm.
"You don't understand." And I kept saying to her, why don't you feel bad for the wives? I was a jester wife. This is
Mhm.
wrong." And she went on and on about how much she slept with my husband. And she was like, "It kept him happy. He loved you." She kept going, "He loved you so much. He was crazy about you." And I was like, do you hear what you're saying? Like, who is selling you that this is a good thing? Like, who is selling this to you? Because
Yeah.
I'm not buying it. That's
Brainwashing.
insane. It's brainwashing. Yes. And I
Mhm.
just feel like that's what they're fed. They're just fed that. And she just went on and on about, she was like, "I've had the most glamorous life." Yeah, they save marriages, Jersey Jan. My husband said that all the time, that these prostitutes tell the guys that we're saving your marriage. You go home to a happy,
Yeah.
happy life. And I'll tell you, I went to a jester funeral and we went up to the widow, and she winked at my husband, and my husband said, "I'm so sorry." And she winked at him and she said, "Thank God he was a jester." She said, "It kept him off of me for 30 years."
Wow.
So there are wives that know about it. And I think there are a lot of wives that are happy that their husbands are gone all the time. They just swipe their credit cards and go to the country clubs, and they have their mistresses or whatever it is that they do. And I told my husband at the time, I said, "I will never," we left that funeral and I was like, I was furious. I'll never forget. I said, "I will never be that woman. I will never, ever be that way. You will never break me into thinking that. Like, there's
Mhm.
no amount of money you could hand me and go, just have fun while I'm gone. It's never going to happen. Like, I believe in marriage."
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I was signing up for.
I wonder how they would feel if the shoe was on the other foot. If the wives were like, okay, then we get to, we're going to have our fun too. Then, like,
They
what would the
do.
difference be in their
There's
mind?
a wife club called the Jesterettes.
And they have sex parties too?
They do.
Girl, I
And
didn't know
I
that.
was told that I would be invited into it. I was never invited into it, but, my husband's ex-wife, who I'm friends with, was invited into it many times. But they
Wait,
had been married over 30 years. My ex-husband was married to her for over 30 years. She was a jester wife for a long time.
how often do they have the women parties?
Every time the guys are out of town.
But are the women they're getting together and doing, I mean, are they also hiring
Mhm.
prostitutes and they're doing the same thing?
Mhm.
That is crazy.
It's crazy because it's like, what a waste of what's the point of being married?
Well, and that's spending a lot of money
It's
too.
a lot of these guys are pretty wealthy though. My husband was just in super crazy credit card debt. I mean, a lot of them are poor. A lot of them are probably in debt. But some of them are very, very wealthy, very wealthy.
Wow. So, but that kind of surprises me because I think about, so we're talking about women in their 60s, 70s, assuming maybe some of them are younger. I mean, what was the age difference between you and your last husband?
27 years.
Yeah, 27
I could
years.
have been his daughter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, now I have gone to a couple of parties where there were jester wives, and like one of them was pregnant. I mean, there's some young ones. There's some younger wives for sure.
Yeah. I'm just so surprised because I just feel like if they're happy that their husband's leaving them alone, why would they have a party inviting, well, I guess it's a,
It's
different
like
experience.
it's a thrill thing, I guess. I don't know. It's never something and I don't know if that's because I was so vanilla in Scientology because we have to give up our sex lives all the time and talk about it on the cans. That is not something that I think and get excited. It's not a fantasy for me. I don't feel a thrill when, you know, um, what was the age gap with you and Fred? 60 years. He was 60 years older than me. He was in his 90s. I don't get excited when I think about, like, swapping my partner or having more than one partner at once. Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I know people do it. It's just not
Yeah.
something for me.
Yeah, that's gotta be your thing. It's just surprising. I
Yeah,
would assume that it's not all the wives because I can't imagine that many
absolutely
women
not. Uh-uh.
wanting
I
to
think it's
pay
an
for sex.
older generational wife thing of the Jesters. Like, it's like that woman who said, "Kept him off of me for 30
Yeah,
years." I think it's probably something that they started a long time ago. I think newer, younger wives like me coming in on the scene, no way.
yeah.
Uh-uh.
Do
I
you
also am excited because I just think this whole sex cult thing is coming to an end in a lot of ways. There's so much
Yeah.
light being shined on the Diddy stuff and those creepy twin guys, and like
Mhm.
it's got to stop.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We've gotta stop. I've thought about this a lot, and I think about I feel like I said that younger generations are doing a better job.
Oh
We
yeah,
seem to be getting better at raising young men that don't see women as purely as just sexual objects and nothing more, and that this
absolutely.
idea that that's all that we're good for, that's the only worth, and that, seems to be the viewpoint of the Jesters for sure. That's why I don't see that organization continuing on very far because
No.
there'll always be a degree of, to some degree, people who are down with that, male or female.
Mhm.
I don't know. I just don't see it happening. And I'm just still so shocked that the wives were doing it too. Are you sure it were sex parties and it wasn't like, let's get together, party, and have a bunch of people clean our houses for us or something like that? I
That sounds
mean,
like more fun for sure.
that's
But
what I
no,
would do. You want to turn me
I'm
on? Grab that vacuum.
I can't
That's
name names.
favorite.
I won't name names right now, but no, I'm 100% sure. I know very well what the Jesterettes are. My husband at the time even told me, he goes, "Now that we're married, there's gonna be a time coming up that you're gonna be invited into the Jesterettes." And I was like, "What is that?" And he told me it was the same thing. It was a sex party, but with hired men. And he
Wow.
even said, he goes, "If you wanna get involved in that," he was like, "just,
He was
that's
cool with
your
it.
call." Yeah. And I was like,
Wow.
"I really want out of this marriage."
Yeah. SRC here. Thank you for that. No wonder Betty Ford became an alcoholic. Think about that
Oh.
too, like wives from even years ago and finding this out, and if you're not down with it, that I mean, and how you felt, because 'cause you've shared a lot about what it was like for you to sit at home knowing what your husband was off doing.
It was horrible, Natalie. It was horrible. I would take I would take a lot of things. It was so bad to sit at home when he would go to those parties, and I don't think we wouldn't have blow up fights before he would go and after he would get back. I was like, "Don't do this. Like, you're ruining our marriage." And he would say, "I will divorce you before I leave the Jesters. This is my life." It's his identity,
Mhm.
it's and again, that stems back to it's not a sex thing in my opinion. It's control, it's power, it's feeling like you're God. It's strutting around in some secret disgusting club where you have hookers at your beck and call and you've got all these big tough guys that are full of money just throwing money around. I mean, that's what it's about, and it was awful. I hated it so much. I had to sit at home for 5 days waiting for him at these parties with no phone. I would just sit up I was just like I couldn't sleep. I remember getting sick every time. Like, it was so bad.
Mhm.
And then I got him kicked out. Katie did. I know.
Yeah. Just a
And that
northern
was honestly that was hard for me. That was sad because the couple of days before I actually left, when I moved out, got
Yeah.
divorced, I went up to the bathroom where he was and I was sad. I really loved him. And I said that to him. I said, "I really loved you." And he didn't really say anything. And I just started crying. And I said, "If you would have left the Jesters, I would have stayed." And he started laughing and he said, "No, you wouldn't have." He said, "No, you wouldn't have stayed." And I said, "Yeah, I would have. I would have. This is what ruined our marriage." Even though people get mad at me for saying that because he had put hands on me. He put hands on me, he'd put hands on my kid, and they're like, "You would have stayed?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I would have." Hands were put on me in Scientology. I didn't feel like, that was
Yeah, it's like your level of normal. You probably normalize that type of
Yeah,
behavior
it
and thought,
was.
well,
I tolerated that.
yeah, I put up with that, and then, what's the handoff that you get
Right,
from it? And it's very similar, and that's where I think I would say too, like, you're often the upbringing in an organization like Scientology, kinda that's part of the grooming process, and if that's we don't fight against that, then we
right.
become, desensitized to things
Yeah.
getting done or said to us.
Mhm. I'm not saying it's okay to put hands on women. I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying it's something I was willing to tolerate.
Yeah, yeah,
The Jesters was not. That was not
yeah.
something. If they're married with children, do the children know? Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of the kids are recruited into the Jesters. Huxley, my son who's 15, Jeff said that many times. He would make a great jester one day.
Wow.
Um, has he ever contacted you about being kicked out? Yelled at you? Jersey Jan, he has not contacted me. There was a time that we were on the phone together after, and I said to him, I heard you were kicked out of the Jesters. I said, "Are you willing to tell me if that's true?" And it was so weird the way he came back at me about it. He goes, "If you're asking me if I'm a jester, I am not anymore." And I was like, "Yeah, I am asking. That's what I just said." But
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
um,
Marlon Brando.
I was like, "Yes."
I
I thought I
am
was
no
pretty direct
longer a
about it.
jester.
So yeah, he didn't seem mad though. He didn't yell at me about it. It made me sad. I was like, this is what it took. All I ever wanted was for him to not be a jester and not go to those parties. And
Mhm.
it's like Scientology because I remember saying to him, "Why can't you just quit?" He goes, "They're my friends. These are my friends." And I said, "Quit and still be their friends." And he was like, "It doesn't work like that."
Yeah.
So it almost is like the disconnection policy.
Mhm.
It's like you can't be friends with them if you quit. And it's probably because they know too much,
I would
And what do we have in
imagine.
common anymore? What's in
Mhm.
common anymore? There's
Yeah,
nothing in common. If you're not going to come to our sex parties, we're not friends.
yeah. Which when you think about it, isn't even really like when he says that, "These are my friends." How can you really be a friend when you would do something like that to begin with? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you're all getting together and cheating on your wives. And how is that being a friend? How is any of that actually being a friend? What are the rules around physical, like, I mean, I just feel like, is this like some college party where like STDs are just flying? Do they have rules about taking precautions? Did you ever hear
Um,
anything about that?
yeah. So I asked this of course, of my ex-husband, but I also asked this of another jester, and I got the same answer from both. Condoms are never used, and
Did you say never?
the girls that come to every party have to present paperwork. They have to bring papers, and there are more than one jester doctor who check the girls out before each party. So they get and I also talked with the prostitute who I've been talking to. I asked her about it, and she said
Yeah.
that's correct. We are checked. We are checked all the time before parties. So they are checked out by jester doctors. That's what I mean. They recruit who they need to recruit to. I mean, there's a reason this has been going on for over a century. There has to be. It's a well-oiled machine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Do
they
any
don't
of
like that
the
I'm poking that nest.
Oh, I'm sure. You might actually wake a few women up. You know what I'm saying? Like get them to help them see, hey, you have more value.
I think it would be cool to have a foundation like we are on. If this
Mm,
were to really blow up
mhm.
and get big, I think it would be cool to have some sort of a foundation where it's just like people coming out of Scientology, like people coming out of this and needing help. People who are second generation jester prostitutes that don't, need jobs, or I would
Yeah, I
love
mean,
to
if
help.
that's not grooming, I just can't imagine a scenario. And
Exactly.
that I think goes what I think really bothers me too is the level of brainwashing. How many women have they convinced that this is just a great thing? You are not just convincing the wives, you're so lucky. It's all brainwashing and trying to
Totally.
normalize disgusting behavior that's demeaning to not
Exactly.
just women themselves too.
Now, I was thinking about this yesterday. I was just a jester wife and I was threatened, yelled at.
Yeah.
Imagine what these girls probably go to. I know they have to sign NDAs, which is total
Mhm.
bullshit because you're signing an NDA for illegal activity. It doesn't count. You can't violate that. Like it's not going to hold up in court. But I'm sure they intimidate the hell out of these girls. I'm sure they
Mhm.
threaten them. They're not doing this because they want to do it. They may tell you that. Like the one said, I've been able to travel. She's giving me the glam. She's giving me the Facebook version. Everybody's got a great life on Facebook and social media. When I saw her there, she didn't look happy. She looked
Mhm.
weathered and beat up and haggard. So I just think there's so much coercion. I think there's so much more to this. These girls are doing it because they have to.
Mhm. And when it's being enabled in that way too, and then being told, "You're saving marriages." I mean, again, it just sounds so much like it reminds me so much of in Scientology when it would be like, "Oh, we're clearing the planet." Like, "You're clearing the planet, that's why you can't have kids." "You're saving
Absolutely.
mankind, that's why there's no time for your family."
I was gonna say, or that's why we're clearing the planet. That's why your kids are not important. You've had
Mhm.
kids billions of years in a row. Kids,
Yeah.
you'll have more kids going for that's what I was told. This isn't your first pregnancy. You've been around 78 trillion years.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the same thing. Yeah, they absolutely brainwash these girls, I believe. And I think that's why she gives me that version of it because she doesn't want to have to face the truth, which is it's all I know how to do. It's all I've been doing. And these guys own me. I go where they fly me, they pay for all their flights, they get them they're so deeply involved.
Mhm.
I don't think it's like Scientology, can you
Mhm.
just walk in one day and go, I'm questioning this. I got a lot of questions. I read some shit online. I don't feel good about this. I quit. I'm just quitting. You can't do that.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing. They can't go anywhere.
Mhm.
Think of all they
Yeah.
have on these women. These women are married. Most of them are married. And they tell their husbands that they're Mary Kay sales reps and they have to travel for that. And that's why they make so much money.
Wow. Would do they
They're
not see
trapped
the
as
Mary
well.
Kay product not coming in and out? Although they probably drop ship these days. Just send
Yeah.
it straight to the person. Back in the day, you had to, like your
Travel with
Mary
it.
Kay person would drop it
Yeah.
off, but
Yeah.
that
So
yeah.
they're trapped just as much, if not worse.
Mhm.
This is not a glamorous lifestyle like I thought.
Yeah.
And I
That
got to see it.
alone was worth you seeing that, I think, because I would imagine did you think in hearing that it was this glamorous thing, it somehow makes it sound a little bit better in ways that it was? Because, like you said, you pictured this kinda eyes wide shut thing, which is still unusual, but and then you see what it actually is and see the
I
women
got
and
to
the
see.
men.
I got to see what it actually is. And again, I think Tommy was a good person to have with me there because he was like, take a look around and really, absorb this because he goes, I've talked to you about this for the last year. And he goes, I know what you were thinking. It was like this red carpet situation. And he was like, look at these women. Like, look at this. Look at these guys. they're disgusting. They're huge, just overweight. They were all smoking and gross and just sloppy looking men. And he was like, this isn't what you thought it was, is it? And he said,
Oh
he goes,
gosh.
I've known prostitutes my whole life. He's been in the sex work industry, and he's like, nobody's happy doing this. Nobody's doing it because they love it.
Yeah.
It's sad, it's depressing, and they're
And they
slaves
say
to it.
that.
He was like, you get to see that.
And it's similar to when you talk to a Scientologist sometimes where it's, "Oh, no, it's great. I've been in for
Oh,
40,
it's
50
so
years. I love
fantastic.
it." And we know as former Scientologists, you're lying.
You're
Not to say
lying, and
you didn't
go
have
meet
moments.
one.
Yeah,
Go meet one
exactly.
that's 50 years old that looks like they're 80, because that's what it looks like, because they've worked them to death. Go see some of those Sea Org members that are, walking around, hobbling around because 'cause they've never been around allowed to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
They've got things that haven't been treated. It's
Mhm.
not what they make it look like.
No,
It's the same thing. It's
it is
totally a
very the
cult.
same. SRT, thank you. Do you think the second generation jester gals are forced, blackmailed into the jester lifestyle? That's a great question.
What do you think? I think they probably are.
I think they are. I think it's very similar to Scientology in that we were raised in it. It's all we knew, so we normalized so much of the behavior. It was normal for us. There were so many things I didn't know well into adulthood that were not okay or weird or unusual until I started meeting more people outside of Scientology. I mean, well into adulthood. And I
Yeah.
would share things with them and they'd be shocked. And I'd be like, what? Why? I don't understand. And then I got to understand, kind of back to the question. This is why having friends who've never been in Scientology is so important because even those of us, when we leave Scientology, and everybody is at different stages in their healing, but sometimes if we have enough shared experience, I think in my experience, sometimes like I've normalized being followed by a private investigator. I really don't think that's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's not okay.
Right.
And but you normalize these things. And
Yes.
sometimes we can together still, well, normalize it because it like, well, it wasn't whatever. But our friends who've never been in Scientology, I feel like are those added people in our lives giving us perspective and going, "Oh,
Yeah, and like you do, I mean, it's just we're so desensitized to stuff. I'm sure
mm,
it's very similar with these women. And
yes."
and think about it. Eventually you start to just look at the happy stuff because like for Scientology, I was never gonna be able to leave. I was unhappy. I was never gonna be able to leave. So what do? You start glamorizing it and going, well, at least, I'm gonna climb the bridge one day and I'll make it to OT. You start looking at the good stuff because you kind of have to. So
Yeah,
it's the same thing with this woman. She was like, I get to travel and I get to go places and I see things I've never been able to see. It's like, okay, you're a trained monkey. Like you're giving me the goods, but we both know that you're miserable. Like
yeah,
I'm sure you just love sleeping with these disgusting old wrinkled up men that just
yeah,
use you and wouldn't give it a second thought, if something happened to you. Or I don't think they would protect these women in any way. I
yeah,
think they are absolutely objects
yeah.
and
They
they
would
will
throw them
remain
under
that
the
way.
bus
And
in a
it
minute.
absolutely adds up with what Tommy said. He goes, "Look at how angry these girls are." They were so mad. I mean, you should have seen they were so angry that I was there. She screamed at me in the hotel lobby. They were taking my picture and he goes, "They are so angry and jealous that you're free." And you're seeing them at work, you're seeing
Yeah,
them on the job.
yeah,
It's a little different like to actually be in person and see this stuff going on. This doesn't look like I mean, I didn't look at it and go, "Man, I wish I was them." It
mhm,
was awful.
yeah. Do you think Cooler by the Lake's got a great question. Do any of these women have any real friends not involved with jesters or prostitution? What do you think about that?
I would have to guess no, it's probably like Scientology. You're kinda under the umbrella of the jesters, your doctor's a jester, your dentist is probably a jester, your lawyer is a jester, like, it's like Scientology. You start to little by little, we're your
Yeah,
family. And
exactly.
and something they sign off with at every jester party, it says it in writing in all their jester parties. At the last day of the party, it always says, "Time to leave your loved ones and go home to your families." That is the
Wow.
creepiest, yeah. Time to leave your loved ones and go home to your family. So I think they also get these people to believe, like, we're we're your everything, kind of like Scientology. I really
Yeah,
believe that they
yeah,
slowly but surely like
yeah.
get them closed, boxed in to like, this is your life. This is your lifestyle. You
Mhm.
hang out with jesters, you hang out with jester prostitutes. Those are your friends, nobody else. I didn't have non-Scientology people I hung out with. No way.
Yeah. And they could have done, again, to SRC's point here, they could be a flight attendant and travel the world. It's not the only option. And me and Taz, I hate to be the one to tell you, Natalie, but spam is not normal. Me and Taz, I'm gonna block you.
I love her.
Me too. Well, spam is very normal in Hawaii because we consume more of it per capita than any place else. So growing up in Hawaii, definitely not a cult thing from the spam. Oh, it's
I feel
huge.
bad. My ex-husband used to make spam all the time, and Huxley loved it. And we were at the store yesterday, and we walked by it, and he goes, "I miss spam." And I said, "You're gonna have to keep missing it, son. I don't know how to cook that. I'm not buying it. I don't know how to make it. I don't cook a lot of meat anyway." And I was like, "Do they
You
have it
just
at like a Waffle House? Can you go order it somewhere?"
Yeah, I think you just fry it up. That's all I ever do. I just fry
Ugh,
it up.
it
Fry it up.
stinks.
Girl.
Oh, it stinks. It
Oh,
smells
it
like human
smells
flesh.
amazing. It's just pork. I love spam so much. I have a spam hat. I've been like life goals. I want to be a spam ambassador, but a real one.
It smells like Hannibal Lecter's kitchen. Oh, gross.
I love it. I love
No.
it so much. I love it so much. Well, I could talk to you about this like forever, but
We can keep talking about it. We want
are you
to
good?
expose it as much as possible. I'm gonna be going on Tommy's brother's channel about it. We're talking to a lot of bigger channels about it. Like, I wanna write a book. Like, there's just so much you can do with the snap because you can't Google it. There is nothing to find. So we have to keep exposing this. We have to keep talking about it. I mean, I just think the more, so many people have reached out and gone, "I love a conspiracy theory. I've been looking at this stuff all my life. I've never heard of the jesters. Don't know what they are."
Me neither.
No, so we need to get that out there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think continuing to do that, and I love that you're going on other channels and you're gonna talk about it and get the word out, because you never know too, there could be other women out there who know things, and maybe that information will be helpful to law enforcement. If
Yes.
enough people come forward about it and have
Yeah,
you
somebody asked that question. I think we went past it. Someone said, "How many women have reached out to you?" A total between men and women. It's crazy. It's like Scientology. I've had a lot of under the radar people reach out. Um, I've had a couple
what
of
did they
jesters,
say? What are their
current jesters talk to me.
Whoa. Why do you
Yes.
think that is?
Well, one of them in particular reached out to me right when I first started talking about it. He's really, really nice. He's a like, I know enough to know he's a jester. Like, he was the first person to tell me that Jeff got kicked out. Like, there's enough that he's like to put it together that I know he is one. And I know it's not my ex-husband. He has reached out many times and said, "I'm really sorry for the way we were treated. I hated your ex-husband." And then he watched my stream about this when I streamed about it last week and how horrible the guys were to me. And he said, "I wish I had been there." He said, "I would have met you off site somewhere to talk to you." He said, "I'm really, really sorry. That's not how they're supposed to treat people. Like, I am sorry." He's a second generation jester. I don't know much about him other than that, but I've had a couple of them reach out and just say, like, "This isn't how it's supposed to be," or, "Look, I know that stuff goes on, but I actually love my wife and I'm not doing it." The only problem I have with that is you're complicit. I mean, you know what's going on. Can't you be a part of a normal group that's not like, I don't feel sorry for you. It's gross.
Yeah.
Um, but that guy, and there's two other jesters that I have talked to, and then there's probably 7 girls that have reached out to me.
Wow.
Yeah. I think this is gonna blow out of the water too, because a lot of these girls, some of them feel burned. Some of them didn't get paid like they should have.
Oh,
Some of them felt like
really?
they were, yeah, oh yeah, it's a big deal. A lot of them have said that. Like, we got stiffed. They didn't. So I think that's also going to, I think no matter what, Nat, we've changed the way they do things going forward. Think about it. Every party they have now, they're going to be looking for me. They may change the way they, maybe they won't do the name tags on the girls anymore. Maybe they won't,
Mm,
they'll probably try to make things harder to identify them, especially now that we're spreading the word on who they are. More and more people are going to go, "Oh my God, I've seen that stream on YouTube. That's what these are. These guys, it's a sex cult."
The pin, that's what the pin is. That's what
Mhm.
all their little dually dads that they seem to like a merch.
Sophia, that's a good point. Family pressure can be powerful with traditions. Yes. I was thinking that too, Shelly. Shelly and I think a lot alike. Um, yeah, I think I just Nat, I think you and I, as we go forward doing our streams, we should talk about this stuff.
Hmm.
Not
Yeah.
every stream, of course, but
Yeah.
I think we should talk about it. And Justice, I don't know the answer to that. What if you're gay? What if you're homosexual? I don't know if like there's homosexual activities going on in the Jesters. I kind of don't get that vibe.
Yeah. I mean, if they're
Um,
racist, then I feel
they're
like sometimes
racist, yeah,
racism and
and
homophobia go together
it's an
sometimes.
old white guys club, so I don't
Yeah.
really see that. They're probably more homophobic than anything,
Mhm.
but, if you're homosexual, it's probably not for you.
Yeah.
There's
Well, I
probably not a lot of
guarantee
them.
you some of them are, and they're just hiding it because statistically,
I'm sure.
even out of 1,000 men at that party,
Oh, yeah, I'm sure, and
yeah.
I'm sure that there's female on female action going on, I'm sure, for the guys. I'm sure they make them do that, but I don't know, like, how much male on male. I don't know. But you're right, I'm sure there are some gay men in the Jesters.
Mhm. But they
I
might, I mean, I guess if they were really gonna, they could hire male, female prostitutes, right? Like either one. But I kind of don't see them. I don't know a lot about it. I only know what I know from you, but that they would do that, especially if they're like racist over here. It doesn't seem they'd be very inclusive.
Right,
And
it
thank
doesn't.
goodness too. And this is just so, I mean, I just still can't get over how old some of them are. It's like, hey, like, what could you be doing with your time with that money?
Well,
I
I
just
asked my ex-husband that because I go, "What about the guys that were like Fred's age going to these parties who
yeah.
can't sexually perform anymore?" And he said, "Oh," he said, "they still hire these girls to come into their hotel rooms, like get naked. They at least can kind of fondle the women, play with their bodies, play with their boobs. They talk sexually to them. They just can't perform themselves." And I thought that's one of the grossest things I've ever heard. And I
Mhm.
was married to an old man who couldn't perform, but I'll tell you right now, that wasn't, none of that kind of sleazy activity was going on. I mean, that's just gross. It's gross to me that some 90-year-old guy is hiring a prostitute to come in and fondle her, and that's gross on both counts. That's just gross. And
Yeah.
tell me that these women just love doing that. It's just the career path they always wanted. I don't buy it.
No, and that's part of I think the mind control that they have to exert on the members. You have to believe that, because if you don't believe that, how do you live with yourself knowing what you're doing over and over and over and over again,
Mhm.
and trying to convince women to believe that this is the best that they can do?
Mhm. Exactly. And again, I think it goes back to looking at the women as objects. They sure treated me like one. I
Yeah.
can only imagine what they treat the actual girls like.
Mhm.
I kinda bet they're not very nice to them, to be honest. I'm sure
Yeah.
they're very controlling. I'm sure they're very like, "You, get over there in the corner. You get on your knees." Like, I'm sure they're very. I doubt they're just. I think it's also like Scientology grooming, like, when they first bring them in, Tommy and I talked about this. I bet they lead them to believe it's a really glitz and glam lifestyle. You're gonna make so much money. My ex-husband at the time bought them gifts all the time. He would ship them things. They had Amazon wish lists, and he would ship them chocolates and flowers all the time. I kinda bet in the beginning they do that. I bet they kinda, like, slowly get them involved. It's like Scientology. You couldn't bring a new person in off the street and go, "You'll never be able to talk to your mom again if you leave this." Like, it's
Mhm.
not like we're gonna learn all the secrets right away. So I'm sure in the beginning, they really are schmoozing them.
Yeah, kinda love bombing them in the beginning. Maybe
Yes.
it's a nicer place. Maybe they start them off that way.
Yep.
You think about
They
that
probably pay
too.
them more.
Yeah, and I think it's super disturbing that this is multi-generational, not just in terms
Yeah.
of being a jester, but generational for prostitution, and I know that happens in other areas as well, but they're condoning, like, you're creating this. You're contributing to another generation of women that are gonna be stuck in and doing this, and that you're
Right.
trafficking. I mean, the one told you she's flown all over the place.
Everywhere.
They pay
I
for
mean,
the
I
ticket.
have I have receipts, out of my husband's email of, all kinds of plane tickets that he paid for of the girls with their names on it. It's all there. You can see it. I mean, plane tickets, all kinds of, correspondence back and forth of like, "I'll fly you to this party, I'll fly you to that party." And Teresa's right. The fact that they don't allow condoms says everything I need to know about how they treat the women. They see them as disposable. I really grilled my husband about that at the time, Teresa. And he just said, he goes, these are specifically private jester only hookers. So they don't need condoms because they're checked out by the doctors and they're not sleeping with any other men. So it's
What about
almost
their
like,
husbands?
I know
Because some of them you said were married.
a lot of them are married, but he made it sound like it's just like, we don't have to use condoms. It's fantastic because it's the same guys over and over and over, and we take care of them. And yeah, they're not sleeping
Well,
with
and they're
anybody
probably
else. And
lying about that too. Because think about it. It's like you have these guys doing this at the sex party, but you think they're not doing anything else anywhere else? Like that's not a
right,
possibility after all this time. The
right.
guys aren't being checked out. Is it going both ways? It's not. It's just the
No,
women, right?
right,
The guys are not being checked out.
right,
You know what the guys have. And for women, there are some STDs that can be you don't have symptoms
right.
until you have major health issues because of it. So how
Oh,
would
I
they
know. See, I didn't even know all that. Tommy explained that to me. He goes, there's no way to even possibly be checked like every week. He goes, some things don't show up for a while,
Mhm.
hepatitis and like things like that. And of course, like the worst, HIV. I mean, it's a scary, slippery slope. And
It
Teresa's
is.
right. Like the fact that they don't let them wear condoms, that
Yeah.
is super abusive of their bodies. Like just not, it's such high control. It's so sick.
Yeah.
I really do believe this is gonna get exposed to a point where it's gonna I wonder if some of these guys are just gonna quit and go, "I can't risk my wife seeing this,"
Yeah.
"She's got too much, there's too many names she's gonna drop." I really do hope that eventually this kinda gets smaller and smaller. I mean, it's gotta phase out eventually anyway. It's an old, disgusting, old tradition of a white guy's gentleman's luxury organization. Like, it's time for that to be over. It's like the Shriners, they're dropping in numbers, it's an old weird tradition,
Yeah.
and
I don't think that the younger people are as into elite clubs and private organizations like that. I've heard that even country clubs are struggling to get new members or
yep,
younger
I've heard that
members.
too. I've heard that
Yeah.
too.
It's just kinda I feel like there's definitely a shift in I mean, think about even with celebrity culture, there's a huge shift with that where I think because so many have fallen, so many have done things like Diddy parties and whatnot, where it's like, okay, you really let that power and access and money go to your head, where you're so emboldened that you're gonna get away with it, and you did for a long time, but they're not getting away with it anymore. And I think,
Mhm.
again, with this here, with you talking about it, is it's gonna make it harder for them to get away with it, and it might just take time. I don't know what it would take. It's the same thing with Scientology. People ask, "What do you think ultimately it would take to bring it down?" I I I don't know, more of the same? I mean, Scientology's ending themselves because they suck, let's be real.
Yeah,
And there are pe they're just by nature of an unworkable technology, they're ending themselves, and their culty practices, they're ending themselves, and I bet you it's
absolutely.
similar with the jesters, they're not gonna find the younger generation. It's gonna be like, "No, I'm
I'm
not doing
not
bringing
I'm
them
not
up."
interested in this. I think just light, shine light on it.
Yeah,
Expose it as it's like Scientology. Someone said in my feed with Tommy today, they were like, "Do you think Scientology will be taken down?" Probably not, but it's sure gonna get smaller and smaller. They're not gonna get new members, and as long as we, um, continue to shine light on this, I don't think it's gonna grow. I don't think the jesters are gonna grow. Um, I think they're really pissed right now that I'm telling their secrets.
yeah, yeah.
Doesn't
Have,
help.
have the women ever talked to you about the women who are hired that they want to quit or want to get out?
No, I've never heard that.
Mhm.
Only one of them has really gotten to a point where she's, like, relaxed to tell me some things. I haven't, like, had a one-on-one conversation with many of the other ones, just small bits and pieces.
Yeah, why do
Um,
you think they talk to you?
I think the one in particular that I talked to, it was really sad. We talked at length, and I told her that I was gonna call her Kelly on my show, just give her a name.
Mhm.
And, it was really sad, like, by the one of the final conversations I had with her after many, many days of talking with her, she said, "I watched your show," and she said, it made me cry. She said, I really like being called Kelly. I like that you call me Kelly. And I thought, this poor woman it's like science. She has no connection to the real world. She doesn't have any
Mhm.
friends. She even said, she goes, she said, "I feel like you're my friend." She said that to me. And I said, it made me cry. It made me really sad. I could feel that she had no connection to anything. She's being
Yeah.
spoon fed by these people, just like Scientology. We've got blinders and you're not allowed to look that way or that way. You're a piece of veal.
Mhm.
And, in science, you can't Google this, you can't look at that, or you're going to be checked on the cans. It's kind of the same thing, I think. And it
Mhm.
was so sad when she said, "I like being called Kelly." And I was like, that's probably because it gives you an escape, like a
Mhm.
different identity. You
Yeah.
don't have to
Yeah.
worry about your current life and what you're forced to do.
Mhm.
And so I wonder why she talked to me so much. I wondered that a lot. Like, why? I think she couldn't help herself. I think it probably felt so good to talk to someone and feel validated and
Mhm.
heard. And,
Yeah.
I was willing to sit there, and I talked with her for hours one day. I just sat there and talked and talked, and then she just spilled and spilled. And I thought, why is she doing this?
Mhm.
She probably couldn't help herself. It probably felt like such a safe space. I mean, I just validated her. I didn't, I wasn't like, "That's gross," or anything.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
like, "Wow, I get it." And she went on and on into details about how she slept with my husband, and
How old was she?
she didn't give me her exact age, but I was told she's been a prostitute for 40 years. She looks like she's in her 60s easily.
Whoa. And that's interesting too, that like here is your husband who's got a wife almost 30 years younger than him sitting at home, adorable and willing to sleep with him. And but that's why I think you're right. It's not necessarily about the sex, it's about the control. How you go
Totally
home
about the
and
control.
mhm. So what's next?
Um, I think what's next is push forward. I was trying to kind of talk to you about that. Like, do I step back? Do I walk away from this and just leave it alone? Or do I keep pushing? It's not necessarily my content style on my channel, but
Yeah.
so is Scientology is a cult that we're
Yeah.
trying to expose. I just don't talk about it every day, but I think I push forward. I think I keep slowly letting out what I have, and I have a lot.
Mhm.
And just but also be like the Scoville guys said, be hyper aware, be super aware, be able to protect myself, my child. um I don't Again, I think sunlight is the best disinfectant. I don't think, yes, she is just a northern girl. She's the one who yelled at me at the hotel.
Oh.
Yeah, it
Wow.
was a little sad. It was a little
Yeah.
sad, honestly.
Yeah, that gives it
'Cause
a whole nother, like, context.
yeah, yeah, like we had talked and talked and talked. This woman and I talked for hours,
Mm,
and then when I saw her, she went, "Race, what the fuck are you doing here?" She was really upset.
yeah.
And I felt bad about it. I thought, I'm on her turf. And
Mhm.
like Tommy said, I get to see her at work, and it's not glamorous.
Yeah. Not how she made it sound.
Yeah. And I'm sure she felt exposed and
Yeah.
embarrassed and, recognized anybody, you could have walked past all of this and not known what was going on. They
Mhm.
hide in plain sight. You don't know what they are unless you know, and you don't know anything because it's not on the internet. It's nowhere. So these guys have gotten away with it for a long time.
Similar again to Scientology, and I
Mhm.
wonder that with more somebody always has to be the first one to speak out publicly about something, right? If you're a whistleblower, you're sharing your experience, and, maybe this is, like, kind of the start of people sharing about it.
Absolutely. And Diane, I'm not identified. I would never give her name out. But the thing is, there was over 100 jesters there at that time that we all saw each other. I mean, they were all outed. I saw them.
Yeah.
I knew over half of their names. I walked up to some of them. One of them I walked up to, and his name was Tommy. I said, "Hey, Tommy." He said, "Hey, Reese, how you been, girl?" He was at a slot machine. I mean, that's why this is a problem. I'm a big problem for these guys because I can identify them. I've got so much back and forth
Mhm.
emails and correspondence with their names on it. They don't like me. They don't
Mhm.
like this because I can identify them and I can see what's going on. Again, someone like Natalie or any of you could just walk into that casino and see all the purple shirts that say Jesters, and no one would have known anything.
Mhm. Wow. Almost makes me want to see it. Find out if there's one in Minneapolis. You can come. We'll go together.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of them. There's a lot. St. Paul. There you go. There's one in
Unbelievable.
St. Paul. I don't know how close you are to St. Paul.
I'm drivable, easy. So, but the book doesn't show you what the dates are or anything like that.
No, but I've got all that.
Hmm. Miss Sunrise Dawn,
Now,
great point.
I'm
No
sure
wonder
they'll
they
move that
tell us.
stuff.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, because they have to plan ahead of time. Like this takes planning. So
yeah.
they must have a schedule.
They have a schedule, and I know their schedule because I've been sent copies of their schedules, but I'm sure now that I've just exposed that, they're gonna move it
Yeah.
all and change it all.
Yeah. Um, I have been to the Spam Museum in Austin 3 times, twice before the renovation and 1 time after.
There's a museum, that's gross.
It's so amazing. It shows you the whole like, you can go into the gift shop and get, like, all this Spam merch and stuff. I love it a lot. Kraken says, "Zeno, here to
Natalie.
probe the jesters."
Oh, look at that. They have one in Chattanooga and Nashville. Gross.
Debbie says, "In the book you showed, there's Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Duluth." Oh my gosh.
I know, I was just gonna say, I'm sure there's more. It's just there's 197 of these. There's
Wow.
197.
Hey, Just Genuine, thank you. This just jumped on here. My favorite girls, Nat and Reese, love you. Love back to
Hey,
you.
Jenny Stout. Love her. So yeah, guys, I'm going to continue to push this. I'm going to continue to do content. I'm mainly doing content right now on my channel and Tommy's channel, The Lifeboat, just because he's been kind of involved in this with me for a long time and he's seen it and he's gone through a lot of the stuff as I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
moving. And he's honestly done a lot more research on it than I have. I haven't done my homework on it online and like deep dive that stuff. I just know what I know from being married to it. So it helps to have someone that does some research. We're putting some things together with an editor to actually
Mhm.
make like a video on it with all the I've got sound bites. I've got a lot of stuff. And it's funny because I think they think I have nothing because I've not shown anything. You know, it's I think what I'm hearing out in the real world is she's so, it's all hot air. She's got all these threats. No, you'll see. Oh yeah, there's Duluth. I don't know where you are as far as Duluth.
It's about 2.5 hours away.
How gross.
Mhm.
Honolulu.
No.
Yeah, but I knew that. He went to a lot of parties in Hawaii.
Wow. Oh my
There's a
goodness.
lot of them in the Philippines.
Wow. Out of the country even. Debbie with an I says, "We need to protest the hotels during the parties like they do in Scientology." That's
That's
not a
not a bad
bad idea.
idea.
It's illegal. You
It's
can't tell me
illegal.
these hotels don't know.
Oh, they know. But they don't wanna turn down all that money. It's a lot of money, I'm sure.
Well, but if their hotels keep being protested, they might think twice about it. I mean,
That's
that's kind of
true.
a bad look if they're not the sole it's probably not where they get most of their income. I mean, they move city to city, but
Right.
especially if it's a particular chain that they visit, is it the same one? Do they know about it? It could be another angle and way of bringing awareness. That's a great point, Debbie by the eyes, kinda put the focus on the hotels too that are hosting it. Do you know what's happening there in your hotel?
It's true. I just don't know the answer as to whether or not they go back to the same hotel.
Yeah. Well, any hotel while they're there. If there's a way of
Right.
knowing, like, "Hey, they're here. This is a hotel. You're
Right.
hosting sex trafficking. That's what you're doing."
They do have one in Rochester, New York. I know that because I just saw it.
Mhm. Wow. What else is in the book?
Um, this is a big one that they say a lot, the creed
Oh, the creed. Even they
of
have
a
a creed
jester.
like Scientology. Thanks for the
Yeah.
super sticker, Jessica.
It's not that long. I can read it. Laugh and the world laughs with you. Weep and the sad world will sigh. Mirth is our life's true elixir. It shows you're a regular guy. They always say mirth, mirth, mirth. Mirth is king, which is like merriment, happiness. There's nothing so banishes worry, nor puts such a big crimp in sin, nor smooths out the wrinkles of trouble like a jolly old jester man's grin. It rolls off the years from your shoulders. You'll forget you've grown to be men. Your youth turns once more to embrace you, for you've grown to be schoolboys again. So if you've got grouches, don't bring them. It's your laugh and joke we need, for mirth is the doctor of trouble, and laughter the jester man's creed.
I feel like I need a shower and a shot of penicillin after hearing that.
I've got the hot water running. There was something I saw yesterday. I was going through this while I was
Angie, well,
talking.
thanks for the super sticker.
This is gross right here. I'm just going to read one of them. Prerequisites for membership. I
Ooh.
showed this yesterday. This is effed up, Nat, right here where my finger is. He must at all times be congenially welcome in the home of fellow jesters, even in their absence.
What? Huh.
That's kind of gross. No?
Yeah.
So,
you're
hey, honey, I'm going out of town, but Bill and Steve are going to be here all weekend with you.
Yes.
They're going to tag team you for the holidays. What is that? What kind of what? Do I get a say in that as a wife, as the second part of the household? He must at all times be congenially welcome in the home of fellow jesters, even in their absence.
Yeah, Teresa says it well here. Your woman is our woman.
Yeah.
That does seem to be what it's like. Because wasn't it too after Fred died that there was some conversation about who's going to get Reese?
Yes. I was told by my ex-husband while I was with Fred that they would all sit around and say, after Fred's gone, who's going to get her? And he said they were jealous all the time of Fred. And then when Jeff and I got together, by the way, he hit on me at Fred's funeral. That's how that all went down. He would say all the time, he said it on my stream. He has said it through his mouth on my streams. Fred gifted her to me.
That play, that's on brand for the cellist.
That's on brand for the smellist.
Yeah.
It's pretty gross. Let's just speaking of that, here's his jester business card. I can't show everything because it has his address on it. There's the cellist. I can't say it in normal word. The cellist. But let's take a look at the back, shall we? Let's take a look at the back.
Yeah.
Oh wow, there's just a naked jester lady with exposing her ass to you guys.
So they all make cards for themselves.
Oh yeah. They all have business cards.
Wow.
Pretty gross.
Well, you keep talking about it.
Let's just look at this one real quick. I won't show his name. This is this guy's business card. Okay.
Monroe Court, number 187.
Now, let's just take a look at the back here.
Used cars, land, whiskey, manure, wild rice, fly swatters, racing farms, mercenary, professional soldier, wars fought, revolutions started, governments run, governments run, uprisings quelled, bars emptied, virgins converted, computers verified, orgies organized, perversion taught, stud service. Oh my gosh. Grow up.
Gross up?
Yeah, gross up.
Really upstanding gentleman.
Wow. And there's just like what gets me to it's like, where's your lack of embarrassment?
Yeah, there's no embarrassment. They double down.
Debbie says, I absolutely
the cellist.
Jealous.
Well, on our first date, there was a bartender at the place we went to because he was a member of that place. It was a Scotch and cigar bar. He was the only bartender. I come to find this out after we start dating. And he goes, hey, is Ben working tonight? Ben was the only bartender. He was the manager of the bar and the only bartender. So of course Ben was working. And the server goes, yeah. And he goes, have him make a drink for the cellist. He dick swinged everywhere we went. And he'd be like, tell him the cellist is here. It was awful. It became a running thing. Everywhere we went, he was like, tell him that the cellist sent him. It was so sad and embarrassing. Every time I hung my head, I was like, oh God.
Thank you, baby steps. Love you both. Thanks for all you
baby
do.
Steps. Oh, Kim is blue.
He's just not embarrassed. It's like, I don't understand.
Katie Fulton. So bad.
Were you embarrassed? And
I slunk down in my chair, especially the first time we were together. I was like, "What?" He goes,
you weren't
"Tell him to
impressed
make
by
a
that?
drink for the chillest." Oh god, dick swinging is the biggest thing that turns me off, men and women. Entitlement is the worst thing. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with people who are entitled or throw things around to show that they're a big deal.
Teresa
Yeah,
can
it's
feel your cringe
Teresa.
here in
Look
California.
at my shoulders. Like I'm already kind of slunk down talking. The chillest. Yeah, it's awful. It's all I can do. Katie. Yeah, Kim is blue. Same. I think we're all cringing all around the world right now. Yeah.
Yeah, we just cannot.
It's so embarrassing. There's nothing worse. There's honestly nothing worse. To just I can't imagine being famous and being like, "Do you know who I am?" Like I can't imagine it. It's so sad. It's so embarrassing.
You should have came out with a name for yourself. He's like the cellist and going, "One for the saxophone."
I know, I should have. I didn't play an instrument, but, there's gotta be something we can call me.
Mhm. Josiah saying, "How do you find out their locations? Are there any in the Midland, Odessa, Texas area?"
Texas is huge. Texas is so big that it's called JOT, Jesters of Texas. Texas is so big that they just call it JOT. There's a lot of Jester Ginny Stout. There's a lot of them in Texas. Yes. They are in
Mhm.
every state. Yeah.
So
Erie,
Erie,
Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania.
I don't know. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Um, Altoona, Pennsylvania? I don't know where that is.
Rain Virus says, "I'm going to start calling Joe the keyboardist."
The keyboard Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So we've got 3. Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
So 4 already in Pennsylvania alone. Um, looks like just those 4. Pittsburgh.
The faxist. Like a
Oh
fax.
my god, that's hilarious. That's maybe should be my name.
Hey, by the way, in Kansas City, when you were there, were they doing their winter wonderland? They were building one
Oh, in
yesterday
Philadelphia.
in
5 in
Philadelphia.
Pennsylvania. Say it again.
And when you were in Kansas City, do you remember them doing their winter wonderland, Scientology?
I do, but I never went to it.
Yeah, they're setting it up.
Yeah, they do it every year.
Yeah, it looked pretty lame.
Oh, Reese, the receiptist, because
The
I'm full of receipts.
receiptist.
The sleuthist. There are 5 in Pennsylvania.
And yeah, Sandra, there was one in Delaware, right? 5 in Pennsylvania. That's crazy.
That's a lot. Wow. Is Delaware, what's the abbreviation?
I don't know. Delaware.
Is it
Delaware.
DE?
I don't know.
DE. Okay, so we've got Wilmington, Delaware. There's one there.
What about Be Merry for Life wants to know about Louisiana. Can Louisiana be marked safe from the jesters? Yeah, DE. Kim is Blue says it's DE.
Louisiana is
Everybody says it's
LA, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I know there's one in Louisiana because my husband went to it, but let's take a look.
Kim says I'm in Pennsylvania. My gross ex-husband wore the tuxedo.
That is gross.
He wore the tuxedo as in was one of these guys, Kim? Or just wore a tuxedo in general? Like it's wore the tuxedo now, kind of like code for being a jester.
Louisville, Kentucky.
Tony's Hooter says, "I'm moving out of Texas."
She's got a lot. Poor Tony. Oh, gross.
Ooh,
Ashland,
and like
Kentucky. Hopkinsville, Kentucky. There's already 3 I'm seeing in Kentucky. Baton Rouge. There we go. Louisiana and Lake Charles, Louisiana. So there's 2 in Louisiana.
Wow. Cammy says there's a lot in New York and one close to where she is.
Oh yeah, New York, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Here, guys, I can do this. I can just hold up. Here's the first one. Like you can screenshot this or something if you want.
Ooh, what about Utah? Jenny Stout says Utah. I bet we're jester free here.
I bet you're not.
I doubt
bet
it.
You're not. So there's page 70. Okay, here's page 71. If you guys want to screenshot this,
I still can't read the writing. I got my reading glasses on. Does anyone see Utah?
I'm trying to look backwards here. I bet you anything there's one in Utah. And then here's the last page.
Oh, Kim Hallman said her person was a Mason and a Shriner. Wow. Okay. Kim Hallman said it ended her marriage.
That's wild, Kim.
Yeah.
I would think. I would be shocked if there wasn't anything in Utah, but I get why you would think that. I just would be shocked.
Liz Trix is worried about Wisconsin. Oh, I guarantee you they're in Wisconsin.
Oh, I just saw Wisconsin. Yeah, there's one where you are, Liz Trix. There's one in your town.
Bo Beats is saying, I dare you to interview Augustine for some inside Mason scoop. I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is, but Bo Beats, there's quite a few of them in Canada, just so you know.
Katie Fulton says, only missing the cape and mask to go with the tux to make it a full eyes wide shut.
I know, Katie, it's true. I don't think they do masks. Maybe there isn't a Utah one. You could be right.
Jersey Jan says there was one in Utah.
Oh, there is Salt Lake City. There it is. Number 49.
Oh, yeah. Teresa says Salt Lake
49.
City was the first page she just showed. Yep. Bummer. No place is safe. That's right. Fishhook Mama, Salt Lake City, Utah, not jester free. You cannot mark yourself as safe from the jesters.
I think they're in every state. I mean, there's 197 of these.
Oregon?
Oh, for sure.
I bet Charlene, Oregon. Jersey Jan says they're all over Florida too.
Oh, yes. That. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're definitely all over Florida. I know that.
Yadira says 8 in Canada.
That's gross.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all over. They're all over Charlotte, North Carolina. I know you said South Carolina, Katie. Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, Jeff Augustine is a Mason? He's a high order Mason, talks about it and shows his super special bro ring.
Now, guys, I will say this. Don't go crazy with Masons. It's totally called A = A in Scientology. Just a ton, I have to tell you, a ton of Masons don't know what jesters even are. Yeah. Shriners know what jesters are. Masons are pretty in the dark about it. And I know that because I know them. I would go to Masonic parties and my husband, right before we got through the door, would say, now shut up and don't say anything about the jesters. These guys don't even know what they are. Most Masons don't even know what they are. So don't automatically meet a Mason and think, ew, they're a sleaze bag. Mm-hmm. They're not.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Everybody's realizing like there's one in my state.
They're all over Texas. I'll tell you, they are Jimmy really Castro, in Texas.
All of them in Florida.
I said Jacksonville, but I'm not. Miami, Tampa, Jacksonville.
What about Coldwater?
No, there isn't one. I mean, which makes sense, right? Because they're owned.
Scientology is not trying to have
Fort Myers
spend money on something else.
Oh shit, yeah, there's a lot of Florida. Okay, Fort Myers, Tallahassee, Panama City, Sarasota, Melbourne, and West Palm Beach. There's a lot in Florida.
That is a lot.
Sorry, Floridians.
Yeah, you're not safe in Florida.
Oh yeah, lots of them in Arizona too.
Oh, I would imagine.
There's one in Phoenix there. Yeah, it makes sense, right? To have them probably in Arizona too, where it's like nicer, get naked weather.
Get naked weather.
Oh yeah, Tucson. So Tucson, Phoenix, and that's all for Arizona. Gross. There was one in Tucson. I was just there.
Wow.
Grody. I'm telling you, this is like a Diddy thing, guys. They are hiding in plain sight.
Wow. Well, you keep talking about it. I'm just amazed, and I'm glad that
How many in Florida total? What were there? Like 6 I just named off for Florida?
At least. Yeah, at least.
Yeah, no, we're going to keep talking about this, Nat. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to push forward until I get murdered. And then when I get murdered and it looks like I just got into a car wreck, you guys know I was run off the road and murdered.
But that will not happen. We are protecting you with our Christmas spirit.
Wow. I feel really
It's like full
really
circle.
encased in a bubble. Thank you for that with your Christmas spirit. Your Yuletide glee will hold me through. I don't think they're going to do anything to me. I really don't.
No, they're not.
I think they're actually kind of scared.
No, I mean, what are they gonna like come chasing you with the walkers? I mean, just how you can outrun all of
I
them.
can outrun a cane.
Yeah,
Absolutely, I can.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to happen for them. Let's hope not, Nat. Let's hope not. But I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to like frame me, or like
Mm.
set me up for something.
Yeah, they're gonna get you banned from Denny's. That's probably what they're gonna do.
Dang, I just ate there in Tucson. It was delicious. It was late at night. I ate there with Johnny and Tommy one night because nothing else was open. And I even said, I haven't eaten here since I was with Fred. And it was delicious. I thought for sure I was going to have liquid poops after. Nothing.
Nothing.
It was cooked nicely. It was in a nice grease. Yeah. This was fun.
It was. I'm glad we were able to connect again, and I know we'll do it. Because no, Christmas is and New Year's are on I realized I had to change my members only live because I usually do it on Tuesdays. On my
Yeah.
Christmas Eve is Tuesday. Someone
Oh,
pointed
yeah.
out to me, and
I'm
then
doing my Zoom call this Sunday.
nice.
Yeah. My once a month Zoom call. Yeah. So we'll do something possibly next week.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy talking to you. And I love your
Yes.
chat. Guys, thank you for welcoming me.
Yeah, and make sure if you are not already subscribed to Relatable Reese that you head on over there and do just that.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll say goodbye, everybody. Hope you had a good night here.
Yeah, guys, this was fun. It was a good topic. Again,
Yes.
best thing you can do, share the video. Share it. Tell your
Mhm.
friends. But don't go attacking people because they're Masons or something like that. Jenny Stout, the Zoom call is this Sunday at noon, my time, Central Time.
Yeah.
If you are a Fred or Gertie tier member on my channel, we do a Zoom call once a month, and it's really fun. We usually go for a few hours. Thank you, Katie. We go for a few hours and chat. It's really fun, and it's very therapeutic for me. I just enjoy talking with all of you and being able to see your faces. It's very nice.
Good. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Thanks for
Have a
having
good
me.
night.